It's time for Twig This Week in Google. Stacey Higginbotham's at CES, so she's got the week off. She will be joining us Sunday for Twit, though, just a little program note. Instead, Mathew Ingram from the Columbia Journalism Review joins me and Jeff Jarvis to talk about all the things Google announced. There are literally a dozen of them at CES. We've got a few digressions. We'll talk a little bit about fountain pens and the source of the world-famous Nantucket Limerick. It's all coming up next on Twig.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 490, recorded Wednesday, January 9th, 2019. A controlled ink leak. This Week in Google is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Protect your online activity today. For an extra 3 months free with a 1-year package, go to expressvpn.com/twig. And by DigitalOcean, the easiest cloud platform to deploy, manage, and scale applications. Over 150,000 businesses rely on DigitalOcean to remove infrastructure friction and deliver industry-leading price performance. Sign up today and receive a free $100 credit at do.co/twit. It's time for Twig This Week in Google. It's all right, you don't have to restart the clock. It's the 5th time I've started the show, but this is a keeper, this one. This is a keeper.
This is what podcasting is all about. Humanity.
Humanity, man. I didn't get my hair done for this show. I'm not wearing any makeup. Clearly, Jeff Jarvis
wearing pants, I hope.
Is wearing pants. But his makeup, I don't know. You look normal.
Do I? Oh, I can't. Oh,
it's bizarre. Jeff Jarvis, professor.
I'm going to get Trump's treatment for the skin. See if that works.
Do you think he does? I'm just. It's completely a side note. Do you think he does the spray on, or does he? He have a bottle?
Spray on.
Do you think they have installed in the White House
sprayers?
A booth. That's Mathew Ingram. He's chief digital writer at the Columbia Journalism Review, CJR.org. Jeff Jarvis, professor of journalism at the blah 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 Town Knight School,
City University of New York.
Thank you. Buzzmachine.com is his blog. CJR.org is Matthew's outlet. I think it's kind of interesting. You know, Nixon put in a bowling alley covering up JFK's pool because JFK had a pool because of his bad back. He would swim. He also liked bringing young ladies down there, as it turned out. Nixon, maybe he also dated, I don't know, but he had a bowling alley put in on top of it.
That would be a Nixon date, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Would you want to go bowling? And would it be ironic if that's where the spray tan booth is now?
Oh, yeah.
It's got to be somewhere.
Where the press room. I think it's actually where the press room is.
Oh, yeah.
I'm picturing like one of those hazmat, spray down things from when you come in chemically contaminated, except all the sprays are tan.
The place I go to get my my nails and face done, which is a sentence.
Oh, do tell us more.
You don't expect me to. So she says I can set up. I have a portable tanning thing.
Really?
And she
portable
sets it up.
booth.
Yeah, because it is like an airbrush.
Yeah.
And so it would get all over. You're basically spray painting you.
Spray painting, yeah.
Yeah. And so, and I think you strip down. And
I would hope so.
And she sprays you. Yeah, you don't want to do it with your clothes on.
Well, when they brought HD TV to TV, and I would go on CNN or MSNBC, they've stopped doing this.
Oh yeah, they're airbrushed. Yeah,
they airbrushed. Yeah. They airbrush makeup. Yeah.
They used to do.
I remember
that,
HD was a huge thing. I remember writing about it. A bunch of networks had to completely redo their sets and makeup because you could see all the tape and the paint and.
But they abandoned it, right, Jeff? They don't do that.
Yes, they don't do it anymore. I always wondered what it must be to inhale that crap.
Well, it's literally the same thing if you've ever used a compressor-based airbrush for painting. It's exactly the same. It's even got a little thing and they do your. When I used to do live with Kelly, Regis and Kelly, they for a couple, just like what you said, when HD first came out, they tried it and then panicked, stopped.
I used to do hits on the business network, and I would forget to take the makeup off, and then I would take the subway home or something.
Like a vampire.
Yeah, and people would look at me like, "What is going on there?"
No, I find they look normal.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering if you were wearing makeup.
Yeah, yeah.
You're suspiciously colored.
Nobody. It's good. We've been able to do shows all week. I thought, it's going to be hard. Everybody's going to be at CES. We've only missed one person. That's Stacy. She went to CES this year. Poor woman.
Do you miss CES in any way?
I was telling Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley this earlier. Every December, I say to Lisa, "Oh man, we should go to CES," and she always goes, "No." And then, this has been true the last few years. This year particularly, I look at the offerings and think, "Oh my God, I'm so glad I didn't go."
But you could ride the Google ride.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what is that? It's like it's like
it's on the rundown. It is the dumbest thing. It is like it's a small world after all level of irritation.
Yeah.
But it's about Google.
Is it a so CNET
it's kind
thank
of like
God
a roller coaster.
Videoed it, and let me see if we can
You've seen all the best parts already.
You got to fast forward.
Google's tent or huge building at CES 19 this year. It's 3 times bigger than
This is Todd Hazelton.
And they even have a roller coaster, more like a track ride behind me. We're going to go ride it now.
Okay, let's go. So there's a little
This is it. How exciting can you be?
So there's a little track and a little car.
Then the guy was, oops, I shouldn't.
He's not supposed to be there. Okay, run away.
He broke the wall.
Get out of the shot.
What's the noise?
Each thing you go by has a family doing their day. You can ask Google Assistant.
In case of everything, you can use Google Assistant for. Like a lot of the signs are going through, say like Google lock the front door, Google open the blinds. All the partner products.
Oh my God, how much money did they spend on this?
No.
This is a really good example of somebody in a meeting suggested it. Everybody thought it was a great idea.
And they have too much money.
Went overboard.
And they just did it. And
that's it.
No saner head prevailed.
As a shareholder, I'm not happy about this.
Well, but okay, let me argue the other side. I mean, is it possible that any of the people going on that ride didn't know all the things Google Assistant did?
Well, they announced, this gets into our show, they announced all kinds of new things.
So this is a way to show it off.
Yes. And for example, a whole bunch of new translation stuff where you're going to be able to talk to the assistant with someone else in the room who has the different language.
You know what?
And you can communicate.
Play the changelog music. We might as well just go into the changelog because this is all new stuff from Google.
Bum, bum, bum.
Google changelog.
Google made at least 12 announcements. Here's the Verge's. See, this is why I don't need to go. Because everybody and their brothers there writing this out, and it's much easier to read it.
They all messed up their feet walking all over God's half acre getting that.
Lots of third-party integration with Dish's Hopper. Sonos speakers, finally, that's great. They've had Amazon's Echo for a while, but Sonos has always said, we're going to be assistant agnostic. A KitchenAid smart display. We already have the Home Hub and LG and who is it? JBL have smart displays, but I guess KitchenAid's getting in the act. Samsung TV integration. Actually, that was interesting because Samsung's not only putting Google in their TVs, they're putting Apple's iTunes and AirPlay too. So what used to be, a walled garden is kind of maybe not. Better Philips Hue integration. I actually use my assistant. I say turn the lights off, and it does it. So I don't know what better integration means. Car products like lighter adapters with assistant.
Anchor has a lighter adapter.
Lighter adapter.
In.
I had theirs and still do. The Viva, which was Amazon's Echo last year. This year they put a Google Assistant in it, which I think is actually a good idea. I'll look forward to.
I'm thinking of getting my daughter one because she's got an older car.
Yeah, I mean, earlier this week, Amazon said we were on 100 million devices. So Google had to say, well, we're on 1 billion devices. But Google has a slight advantage because most of those billion devices are phones. They're on they're on all Android phones almost. So, all right. So that's new. Let's see what else here. There are a bunch of new software features. You can do your boarding passes on Assistant. I don't necessarily understand how wonderful that is, but
They
Well,
touted it a lot.
can you say to the assistant, "Show me my boarding pass"?
Yeah,
and then
well,
it's on the
no,
screen?
before that, it will take you through the whole process.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So I don't have luggage. Yes, I acknowledge I'm not taking on bombs.
You can
whatever,
do that
whatever.
all by voice.
Yeah.
And now you can do it by voice.
Yeah.
So I'm reading odd things because my Gutenberg moment. I'm now reading a 1960s book from script to print. The world of readers and writers as it was before the common existence of printed books. Oh God, Jarvis, please no.
I'm going the other way. I'm going from print to script. So, I feel like this is part of my retreat from the 21st century is all fountain
You are
pens.
doing that. Yes.
Yeah.
What kind of pen?
Don't get me started.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, you're not getting into all that, are you?
I realize I don't know. It's a little Freudian, but right around adolescence, I started to get involved with pens. And I remember
Better than other things, young man.
Yeah.
Better than other things.
Yeah. Well, I remember going to the Brown University bookstore, and I would, buy pens. And I've owned owned and lost many a Mont Blanc in my time. But now that I'm older, wiser, and perhaps more responsible, I've decided to kind of beef up my pen collection. This is a Japanese, inexpensive Japanese brand called Sailor that people, I've gotten into the Reddit subreddit for fountain pens, so stop me at any time. It's vaunted for its nib. They say it's a very good, the nib is the most
huge.
So, somebody said, and I think this is very apt, really writing with a fountain pen is just a controlled ink leak.
Yeah.
That's basically what's happening.
Yeah.
And the nib is where the ink leaks out of. So how the nib works, how it writes, whether it's scratchy or smooth.
You got a bad nib, it's terrible.
Oh, it could be the worst. So you're a fountain pen aficionado as well.
Yeah, I had a whole bunch of them. I actually still have one that doesn't really work. It was my great-grandmother's, I think. So it's got a bladder in it. And you have to lift a little lever.
Yeah.
And you have to put it in that.
No, see, I've decided I'm never again buying a pen that doesn't have a built-in converter. I don't like the cartridges, which is what the Sailor uses, or the aftermarket converters. So I've ordered a Pelican, and I'm waiting for it. That has Pelican has a patented special system, and I also have a Wing Sung, the Chinese. Makes sense. Very big in fountain pens. So I have a Wing Sung 698, which I like a lot. I like gel, Jeff.
Gel.
But there's no aesthetic.
Technology advances.
Yeah, there's no aesthetic.
There's no aesthetic.
It feels good.
No.
I used to do calligraphy as well, so I got heavily into those types of pens.
You need a fountain pen because the width of the line varies, which it doesn't do with a gel pen. You can also, and by the way, it doesn't end with the pen. There's a huge thing of ink now. This is something that's changed in the last few years, at least since I was into it, where there's luminescent inks. There's all kinds of inks.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to This Week in 1398.
I like going back in time. So there's a
Here we are
brand.
in the scriptorium.
There's a brand that I'm a fan of called Noodlers Ink, and they make a variety of inks with political messages, including the Bernanke Black, that is fast drying because when you're printing money, it's important that it dry fast. They have such great inks. So I'm gonna say, and they're very. Here's Pasternak. They have a Russian series now.
You have gone down the rabbit hole.
I'm blaming you for this, Matthew.
I'm down the rabbit hole.
Sorry.
The reason I got Bernanke though is because I'm a lefty, and if you're a lefty,
it dries quickly. Oh.
Yes, you don't. Fountain pens are.
You don't smear it. Yeah.
I have in the past been not a good penman, as they call them, because of my left-handedness, and I just drug it. So Bernanke is going to be my lifesaver because it dries before you get your hand.
Fascinating.
So does gel.
Yeah, I have some really nice gels. You know what I like on the gel side? The Baron Fig. Do you know about the Baron Fig?
No, I just have Energel.
Baron Fig sounds like a dessert.
Baron Fig should be a dessert. The Baron Fig, this is the Squire, is the best roller ball you can get. And I even have a Squire that has a little stand that I keep on my desk here.
Wow.
This is Jeff, it's not expensive. Well, it is
A
little.
stand. Why do you need a stand?
Because then you just put it in the stand and it's always there and ready for you. You can go get it, John. It's on my desk.
Okay.
These are the best roller balls, Jeff. If you want to really have fun.
The Baron Fig.
Baron Fig Squire. And then
any idea why it's called that?
no, I just love the name. And then if you want a disposable, Schneider. And I've tried them. I used to be a Pilot guy, Pilot gel.
Yeah, Pilots are pretty good.
They're very good, but I have these Baron Fig. You've never seen anything.
Okay.
Like
The Pentel is my favorite.
Pentels are good too.
Pentel Energel. Well, as we were saying about Google,
I can't escape one last. I can't escape though the notion that this is all extremely Freudian. There's something just wrong.
Sometimes a pen is just a pen.
Sometimes a pen is just a writing instrument. Here's my Baron Fig. You see that? And then it's always available.
Wow.
Nicely weighted little stand.
What if you want to carry it with you?
It will retract.
Oh, it does retract. Okay.
Yeah. But you don't need to retract it if you keep it in the patented Baron Fig stand.
Did you pay extra for the stand?
How much for that whole package?
I think $55. But it comes with a bunch of refills.
Oh, okay.
This will last a lifetime. It's a writing instrument. It's not a pen.
You can also play Dixie on it.
I do think there is something attached to the fact that I've withdrawn from social media.
Oh, yes, this is definitely true.
And then I'm going into pens and
you're going to be on the goddamn paleo diet before we know it.
Oh, that too.
Do you have one of those, do you have a manual keyboard for your tablet or anything like that? I've been looking for those. There's some pretty good ones out there. So it's basically like an old-fashioned
typewriter
keyboard.
Yeah, the quirky. Yeah, the quirky.
Yeah, quirky, yeah.
I actually made the quirky guy cry. We had a show called I'd Fund That, in which people came in. Was it Quirky USB keyboard?
Quirky was so great. I did Quirky. I went to the Quirky judgings and was a judge a couple times. They were so great.
Was it Quirky?
It wasn't Quirky. Quirky has gone now.
Yeah.
But, yeah, sad to say, because I thought that was a really good idea.
Me too.
Yeah, the Quirky writer. It's QWERKY.
Okay.
So they were at this point trying to raise money on Kickstarter, and so we had them on I'd Fund That. And if it was basically Shark Tank, if we liked it, we'd say I'd fund that. And if we didn't like it, we'd say go fund yourself. And and I looked at this because what do I know? And I said, wait a minute, you're going to have this typewriter keyboard. It's $100-some. You're going to have this typewriter keyboard. People are going to buy it and use it. $249. I said, you're insane. Go fund yourself. And I was wrong.
I love it. I love it. I've almost bought one.
I was so wrong. It even has a little, what do they call that? Platen
the carriage
roller?
return.
Carriage return. And that'll, and you hit it, it makes sounds. Crazy.
I actually wanted to buy one years ago that this guy built from scratch.
Right.
So he took an old Underwood.
They still do
and
that.
wired it up.
They do that.
Yeah.
So this is another book I just bought, The Wonderful Writing Machine.
Oh, it's all about the typewriter.
Done for Olympus. And,
so Jeff, in the lobby, I don't know if you've been there, Matthew, but if in the lobby of CUNY's journalism school, they have an exhibit of typewriters, old typewriters. It's really cool.
Yeah, from the old LA
I have
Times,
one in my basement.
My favorite one, my favorite old typewriter.
About 9 of them.
The brand is Bing.
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 I tell everybody that's where Microsoft Search is. It's
I
right
see
there.
you have a machine that goes bing. I had a typewriter fetish for a time as well.
Yeah, I think lots of people do.
I love them. I love them.
Yeah.
There's a book that came out last year called The Chinese Typewriter. Did you hear about that?
Well, that's crazy because they don't have a Roman character set. It's not 26 letters.
So the book is about this guy's sort of mission to create a Chinese typewriter, which ultimately fails. I think there was one, but I don't know that any copies of it exist anymore.
Wow.
But one was built, allegedly, and it had, a 15-stage shift key, I think, or something like that. And it's just fascinating. But this story of sort of trying to come up with one and how difficult it was to get kind of.
So before word processing, how this is really ignorant of me. How did one do documents?
Well, there were these things called fountain pens. We've come full circle now. That's the other thing I've gotten into because I really, as a lefty, I don't have terrible handwriting, and I was taught the Palmer method in school, and now they do it as an even simplified Palmer method. But the Palmer method was a simplified version of something called Spencerian script, and there's a company named Mott Books that publishes the workbooks for the original Spencerian script as taught in schools in the 19th century. And
nice.
And I've purchased all of those workbooks, and I'm working my way through them because I want good Spencerian penmanship.
But nobody writes with pens anymore.
I do. So I'm
going to stop teaching penmanship.
Yeah.
No one will notice that your penmanship is really good.
Well, they will when they get these handwritten note cards. I'm thinking I'm going to do an analog Instagram. I'm going to print a picture and put it in a note card and write a caption, and then
John,
have
give
a
him
like
paper
or
now.
dislike checkbox.
That's a great idea.
Can you give Leo some paper? I want to see you write something like This Week in Google and see how well you do it.
I can't yet. I'm still learning it. My hand is like a noodle because it's exhausting. But I'm going to get the fine motor skills I lacked as a young man. But we were taught, you remember cursive, right? Do you ever write in cursive? Anybody ever write in cursive?
My handwriting is so awful.
Yeah, I do.
This is why I took typing in 6th grade.
Yes.
I did a summer course in typing because my handwriting was so dreadful.
So I'm the opposite. I never took typing. I type with basically 2 fingers, maybe 4. I can go really fast, though.
Are you a touch typist, Leo?
No, I'm a 2-finger also, but I don't look at it. I'm self-taught. I'm like Mathew, where you had to write. Yeah. You just go like this. And
I can go pretty fast.
Yeah, me too. I'd be faster if I could touch type.
So do you remember, I forgot this till recently, it's one of those little memories that comes back. How did you get, on an old Royal typewriter, let's say, how did you get an exclamation point?
Shift. It was down in the lower right, wasn't it?
No, there was no exclamation point on the older typewriters.
Oh, you did? That's right. Apostrophe
period. Backspace period.
Yes, I remember
I forgot that. Apostrophe, backspace, period.
Is it This Week in Old Farts?
I remember that.
That's insane. Although it had the somewhat meritorious advantage of reducing the number of exclamation marks in writing.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, true.
You don't do bang, 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 bang anymore because you got a apostrophe, backspace, period.
I just read something about how kids, like the kids nowadays, millennials, routinely use exclamation marks all the time. So now, in order to convey what a 1 exclamation mark would, you have to use at least 3.
It's exclamation mark inflation.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine said she dated a guy, you'll soon see why it was very briefly, who told her that you should use only 3 exclamation points in life, and I've already used 1.
Nice.
I love it. No, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
If you want to learn a little Spencerian script, I'll get yourself a little fountain pen.
Wow.
And this is considered simplified over the predecessor, which was roundhand, which is what the Declaration of Independence is written in.
That looks so useful.
I think it's beautiful. You're a calligrapher.
It's a little rounded for me. I like the ones with all the unnecessary lines and frills and extras.
See, this was considered simplified because it only uses 7 different strokes.
Mm-hmm.
And so once you learn those, and that's what I'm learning right now, stroke 1 is up and to the right, a 30-degree angle. No, 52-degree angle. Stroke 2 is, you don't want to hear all this.
Man, being off social media, you got a lot of time on your hands.
You get really bored easily. What else is new in the Google change log?
We were wait.
What were we talking about?
We were talking about Assistant, and point I was trying to get to before Mathew took us into the Leo.
I forget
vortex.
how we even got here.
It's your fault.
This is a McLuhan-esque point. Mathew, as a Canadian, should respect this. Is how we were an oral culture before.
Yes,
oral and oral culture before, right?
Yes.
And so you hear Google saying how important voice is, and you see this at CES, and so I was reading this odd book, and because of the way we learn to read, right? Text has always been an intermediary, a blockade. Mm-hmm. When you read, you hear the words. You talk to yourself with the words. Everything is actually oral. Text was this weird exception to that.
Yeah.
And so the platforms are going to an oral-based world. It's slower and more inefficient in some ways, but in other ways it requires, no training, no UI, no nothing else, as long as the machines are good enough to do it.
But assistants are terrible at handling people with accents. I mean, you've seen those videos of like Scottish people trying to use.
They'll learn.
Yeah, I guess.
The Google translation thing that they were announcing for Assistant, I think starts with something like 27 languages. I forget the number, but it's pretty impressive. And by the way, I was trying to because I'm reading these weird books. I was trying to translate Latin, and used to be you couldn't get that in Google Translate. You can get Latin.
So there's another whole sort of rabbit hole about the way that your brain functions and how that's tied to language. There's a fascinating sort of theory about character-based languages versus and sort of image-based languages, and how one encourages you to think in a specific way and the other. So character-based languages, the theory is it encourages you to split things up into incomprehensible units that only make sense when they're combined. And there's some fascinating research about different languages and how they kind of encourage you to think in different ways. So going back to an oral culture could have all sorts of, strange kind of repercussions. Yeah,
when we become very dependent then on the assistants, on the machine learning and AI, because they're going to be the translators so that there aren't humans on the other end of this. So I think CES was actually, that's one little important part of CES. I was trying to get us back on.
Well, and I welcome it from the other direction. What are we doing right now? But we're doing oral, AURAL content. A lot of people who listen to podcasts and even audiobooks speed them up. Almost all players have the ability to double the speed or 1.5 times the speed. And I talk to people all the time who say when I'm in studio, when they come in studio and hear us, they say, "You all sound drunk. You're so slow," because they're used to listening at 2x. But that is a good way to get more content in faster. And I think that's completely legitimate. Isn't it the case, though, that fast readers don't enunciate in their mind that they, or is it, I don't
think it's possible. I mean, that's the Evelyn Woods method kind of, you try not to.
Yeah.
But I think it's nearly impossible. I never do.
You don't speak in your mind. When you read, it's a direct input into your amygdala.
Yeah. And I don't know whether that's, and consequently, I don't
think very well.
It just seems to go very quickly.
You read fast. You read fast. See, I actually, when I don't understand something, I'll slow down and say it in my head. Sometimes even say it out loud.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I need to hear it, I think.
The scribes, which you're turning into.
I am a scribe.
Wouldn't do silent reading. Silent reading was an invention of that came after books. Because everything was read out loud. You had one copy of the book. You had 20 people in the room. Somebody read it. That was a lecture, and that was a lecture, right?
Yeah.
And so it was.
While they were scribing they read it,
right? Verse until the late 1300s, verse was the only acceptable form of text. Prose was crap.
Wow.
Those are the days
by verse, because you could memorize it. And you could share it.
I am going to. Okay, that'll be my New Year's resolution for 2020.
Poetry,
everything I say will be an iambic pentameter,
including limericks. I think limericks are acceptable.
Limericks are acceptable. I think if it just should be da-dum, 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 da-dum. I think from now on, I'm going to do everything in iambic pentameter and write it with a pen.
With your pen.
Jeff, I'm going to send you one of these barren figs. I'm going to get your address, and I'm going to send you one. Because you're going to flip your lid. And then, in about 2 months, I'm sending you a fountain pen.
Oh, I would be the worst. I really have the worst handwriting. Let's see if I can find something here.
But I think it makes your handwriting better because it grips the paper. The problem with a rollerball never give you good handwriting. It's too slippery.
Right. See, I have no problem sharing this because no one could possibly read this. I don't know if you can see this.
Terrible.
That's good handwriting.
Doctor.
That's good. That's what. Well, everybody in my mother's family was a doctor, and they all thought I had to be a doctor because I had horrible handwriting. Horrendous handwriting.
There once was a twit from Nantucket. By the way, do you know that the original version of the Nantucket Limerick was not filthy?
No.
What was it?
Is this too much of a rabbit hole?
Oh,
probably.
Yeah, but that's where we live.
The original Nantucket one. Let me see. I got to find it. I got to be very careful. but I read this somewhere because you've all heard the filthy one.
Those poor people who live in Nantucket. Literally, that's the first thing everybody thinks of.
Yeah, this is the original. There once was a man from
Matthew.
Nantucket who kept all of his cash in a bucket. But his daughter, named Nan, ran away with a man. As for the bucket, Nantucket.
Which makes no sense.
Nantucket.
It's a loose.
Nan, his daughter, took it.
Took it.
As for the bucket,
Nan took it.
but he followed the pair to Pawtucket, the man and the girl with the bucket, and he said to the man he was welcome to Nan, but as for the bucket, Pawtucket.
Nice.
Then the pair followed Paw to Manhasset.
Oh, man.
People are now turning the speed up to 3x, where he still held the cash as an asset. But Nant and the man stole the money and ran, and as for the bucket, Manhasset.
If you ever run those podcast analytics on this thing, people are going to be like,
Of the
logging
story we hear from Nantucket about the mysterious loss of the bucket, we are sorry for Nan as well as the man, the cash, and the bucket, Pawtucket. I used to live in
The
Pawtucket.
Pawtucket Times.
Yeah.
There's more. Please don't scroll down.
No more. No more. That's
Okay.
it. We're stopping. Do you want the Squire brass rollerball pen?
I mean, sure.
And
Whatever your judgment is,
and then
since you're the expert.
plus the Squire rollerball stand.
I see
sold out.
$24 for that.
Sold out.
Sold
Leo,
out.
you chump.
Sold out.
Leo,
That's
I
a
love you, but you're a
precision
chump.
engineered stand, Jeff.
Oh, it is. Oh, believe me, this is no lightweight stand. This has heft. You know, if you're going back to the 19th century, things cost more then.
Exactly.
What else did Google announce? They announced an alarm clock. Well, Lenovo announced a smart clock. I actually like the Amazon Echo Spot, which is a round clock with Echo in it and a screen. Lenovo is going to do basically a smaller version of their smart display that has an assistant in it. That'll be $80 someday. Not right away.
The alarm clock.
You know,
Yeah.
a friend's mother, well, they gave it to her, but it's the Echo, whichever one's the circular one with a
Spot.
little screen.
Yeah, that's
Because
the
of
one I have.
Spot.
I love that. That's a great one.
So my friend gave it to her mother. Her mother's elderly and kind of losing it. So her granddaughter wanted to check in on her from time
It has
to
a
time.
camera on it, and you can drop
So
in.
she drops in. Yeah. So they set it up so that she can just drop in anytime. Say, hey, Grandma, how are you doing? She loves it.
Oh, I was waiting for the other shoe to drop on that one, but I
No,
guess
it works
It
great.
was a happy ending.
Yeah, she
Okay.
loves it. Yeah. I just
Turns
thought,
out she keeps it in her knickers. or something. I don't know.
Not yet, anyway. I'll get back to you.
No, I love it, and I did drop in with my mom quite a bit, and then she's not. Maybe Mom. I don't know. She changed it so I couldn't.
Oh,
so I don't.
I think she hired somebody from Best Buy to come by.
She probably hired a guy from Best Buy.
My son keeps bothering me. Can you please
you
shut him
talk
up?
about fountain pens. How do I turn it off?
So talk about this interpreter mode, because that's another thing Google announced. Is this thing that we have with Google Translate where you?
But it's a little bit different now because evidently you can say hi. You can say to it,
Let's
Google,
play it.
help me speak Spanish.
Good evening. How
Here,
may I
let's-
assist you?
你好，这边有什么？
So I should explain. We're at a desk at a hotel.
They're going to test it first in hotels.
The desk clerk speaks English, and obviously the guest is speaking Chinese. So we'll do that again.
Good evening. How may I assist you?
你好，这边有什么赌场或是餐馆我可以去吗？
Oh, I apologize. Okay, Google. Chinese interpreter.
Ready when you are.
Oh, that music's
Hey,
not
it's
part
Sharon
of
with
it.
The Verge, and
It's
we're
part
here
of
to
The
check out Google
Verge's-
Assistant's new interpreter if it works.
I assist you.
So
我如何可以协助你呢？
wow.
你好，我想找这边的赌场或餐馆。
Then I'll show you the
I want to
text.
find the flow field
Oh,
and
oh,
restaurant
radio.
here.
Oh, I got it wrong.
Restaurant.
餐厅
So notice they're going back and forth without additional
没错，
demands.
我想要找这边的餐馆。
5月12日，
It says May. It said May 12th. So
sorry, I don't
okay, there's clearly some work
needs
that
some
needs
work.
to
Work
be.
to be done, yeah.
That
wasn't the Google video, I presume.
That was a
Google's
Verge
AirPods
video.
supposed to do that? Weren't they supposed to have
Yeah,
translation?
the
built
earbuds
in?
did it, and in fact, your phone does it right now. And
Yeah.
I've used it where if you put it Google
Yeah, I do.
Translate and you hold it like this, you can speak into it, and then it will translate, and they can speak back into it,
Right.
and it will translate back to you. And it works better than that. I'll be honest. That was a noisy casino.
Did the earbuds work?
No, I never. The earbuds were terrible.
Never used them. Yeah,
and
they
the
were
reason the earbuds were a bad idea is because only you heard the translation.
Right. Right.
And so it wasn't clear. It's much better, I think, doing it with the phone or this assistant on the, on a Google Home Hub or something will be better because they can hear the translation. So they know that you're hearing something and you speak to it. And so it's just a more natural flow. It's real-time translation.
I was just watching, I think it was The Blacklist, and they had, I don't know if it's Google Translate, but they had a Chinese character say things into their phone, and then it read them out in English.
Yeah, you can do that right now. In fact, Bing translates very good. Father Robert told me, he's the digital Jesuit, Robert Ballasser, who's been on a host of our shows.
He's like running the Vatican and whatnot.
He's running the Vatican now. And, well, I don't know, running. He might not like that characterization, but he's probably the tech guy there. Yeah, I know he helped.
They don't
running
know
their
he's running it,
servers.
but he's in charge of digital, so he runs it, yeah.
Yeah, well, he set up the Skype for the Pope a couple of years ago. So, and I think he's doing social media and stuff. And anyway, he goes to these Curia meetings, which are, the Pope and cardinals.
Right.
And apparently the Curia, when it meets, doesn't speak in Latin, it speaks in Italian. And his Italian's not great. So he put Google Bing on the table. He's following somewhat, but Bing is telling him what they're saying. He says it works very well. Last time I heard from him, though, he said, I'm being sent somewhere to learn Italian.
Ooh.
And then we never heard from him again. No, actually, he's at CES and will be in studio with me on Sunday for this.
Oh,
week.
yay!
Heck,
Good news.
Yeah. He's having a good time at CES, I bet. Fuchsia. Should we talk about fuchsia?
Are we still in the changelog?
Yeah, I guess this is, well, should I stick with stuff maybe that's going to be...
Who knows?
Who
knows?
Who knows?
Just the problem is I envision poor Carson, his hand has been
hovering
over a button for quite a while now.
Well, I'm going through the Verge's article on all the things Google announced. Let's see. This is interpreter mode. Let me get all of these lined up here. Everything Google Assistant at CES. Remember last year it was also very much a Google /Echo CES. So
I mean, it feels like that's the most obvious market opportunity.
There's minor stuff, better auto reply and punctuation when you reply.
Punctuation is cool, yeah.
With your voice. Yeah, so that it'll understand that you implied a comma as you speak. Assistant will be in Google Maps.
But that's what, as they say in The Verge, that's a Trojan horse because that gets Google Assistant everywhere.
Exactly.
Oh, interesting.
Isn't it?
Even on iPhone.
Yeah.
Well, you can download Google Assistant for the iPhone if you download.
But the odds that you do, as opposed to starting to get used to it in Maps,
pretty slim.
Though I find that Maps voice has never worked very well for me. Maybe it'll get better with official assistant.
Yeah. So this is, I mean, we were talking about this on Windows Weekly. Paul Throth thinks, and I agree, Assistant's the winner pretty clearly. Amazon's Echo a close second, and then all the rest are also rans. And it's funny because it's Windows Weekly, but Cortana is not even in the hunt at this point. Let's see
the data, right?
Yeah, the Apple, privacy turns out not to be a good thing for a voice assistant. Android Messages automatic spam protection has started rolling out. Now you should be aware, as John Porter points out on The Verge, that means it's collecting phone numbers. Automatic spam protection is opt-out by default, so you have to turn. You can turn it off from within the advanced settings menu. No time frame for the
wait. Say that again.
That's confusing. Opt-out by default sounds like you
it's
have
off,
to turn it on. So I'm not sure if he wrote that confusingly or we're just reading it in our heads. But that's a good thing. I mean, I have to say Hangouts has become atrocious for me for spam.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I get so many fake young women approaching me.
Yeah.
What's interesting is because my last name's Laporte, they do it in French in the middle of the night because they think I'm French. Lisa gets young men, interestingly, in English. So it's not so
It's a garbage fire.
It's a garbage fire. So I think this, this is going to be an important feature. It's in the messages, and I don't see it coming to Hangouts. But
I don't understand why spam phone calls aren't controllable.
What do you mean?
I think there's a combination of a reluctance on the part of carriers, because they could do it, and a concern
They know
about
it's spam. They're identifying it as spam.
But
now.
there's also concern about the First Amendment.
Yeah, probably.
Now, you don't have First Amendment rights on a cell phone network. AT&T has the right to do what they want. That's, by the way, one of the reasons that at least that's the stated reason that the FCC declared text messages to be a publishing service. I can't remember what they did, but they did something that allowed carriers to then block spam. But it also has the upshot that carriers could block political speech they don't like, or messages that they aren't happy with, things like that. That was just recently. The FCC just did that. Google Drawings can now be embedded in Google Docs.
I don't know how. Have you ever used Google? No, maybe you will now that you're a calligrapher.
I could handwrite on my Google Docs.
You can make ideograms of them.
Let's see.
You could handwrite and then scan them and then do OCR.
I can't wait to the day when we do a Google changelog where I say, and now Google OCR can understand Spencerian script. That'll be the day that we good penmen.
No, the way you're headed, you're going to be able to say, by Newton understands Spencerian script.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. It doesn't understand any script. I think we can safely say that concludes
the CES.
The
There were a couple of the things
changelog
in the changelog. Yes.
Now, we are going to get back to the 21st century in a moment, including, I'm curious what you think about this. They have arrested the 20-year-old who hacked Angela Merkel and other politicians. The giant,
said he operated alone.
But he called himself God. So we'll talk about that in just a second. First, a word from ExpressVPN. I think if you're technical enough to watch our shows or listen, you know what a VPN is, a virtual private network. The idea is, it first started, businesses used VPNs as a way for you to log into the work computer from home in a secure way. And it was as if you were on the work network, even though you weren't. You were using a VPN. It's an encrypted private tunnel. Very good technology, very strong technology. Of late, people have been using VPNs for other reasons. For instance, if you had a VPN provider, you could use them maybe at an open Wi-Fi access point, or like a coffee shop. You turn on the VPN on your machine. It's an encrypted tunnel right past all the snoops in the coffee shop to the VPN server and then out into the world. People also use it to eliminate geographic restrictions. So let's say you want to look like you're coming from London. Maybe you want to watch the BBC, or you look like you're coming from France. Maybe you want to watch French television. So there's lots of reasons you might want to use a VPN. And of course, one of the maybe most important is you might not want your internet service provider snooping on what you're doing in your home. The number one best VPN out there, and I could say that with confidence, ExpressVPN. There are VPNs, many of them, that will insert ads into your stream, or worse. ExpressVPN doesn't do any of that. No logging. Your privacy is absolutely secure, and they're fast. Running a good VPN network that doesn't slow you down means lots of servers. ExpressVPN has 148 locations in 94 countries. So there's one near you, and they are fast, fast, fast. TechRadar ranked ExpressVPN the #1 VPN service. And for any reason, with any of their plans, if you're not happy, 30-day money-back guarantee. Plans cost less than $7 a month. So it's not like it's super expensive, but honestly, You do want to pay for a VPN. There's really good reasons. And the best is ExpressVPN. Affordable. We're going to make it even more affordable. If you want to protect your online activity and your privacy today, go right now to expressvpn.com/twig. You'll get an extra 3 months free with the 1-year package. That's the best deal. Absolutely. expressvpn.com/twig. Protect your online privacy with ExpressVPN. And, of course, 30-day money-back guarantee means it's completely risk-free. And I always recommend this, read the privacy policy. And then the other thing you should look at is where the VPN is. If it's in the United States or Australia or any of the Five Eyes countries, that's a bad idea. ExpressVPN is based in the British Virgin Islands. No data retention laws, no activity logs, no connection logs. You are private. ExpressVPN.com/twig. Get an extra 3 months when you sign up for a year. This one is easy.
It is a good price. I just looked at the regular price, and that's a much better price.
Yeah. And honestly, I see all the time. In fact, I don't want to speak out of school. We had a VPN advertiser before that offered a very inexpensive lifetime subscription, and we dumped them. I didn't want to do their ads because I know what that means. The only way that makes financial sense, it's expensive to run these servers. The only way that makes financial sense is if they're doing something else. They're up to some other way to make money on you, right? ExpressVPN.
So can I go to one of my favorite things of the week?
Yes.
Is Facebook's political ad archive.
Okay, you knew this would be a rat hole. Let's get into it, man.
Well, because it's actually fun.
Where is it online? Is it on Facebook?
So yeah, if you go, it's in the Facebook rundown, the link there. And so that link I put up is a sample search.
This is the Elizabeth Warren's campaign. Okay.
Right.
So I don't know if this is going to matter because A, it says Facebook's advertising tools might not work as expected when an ad blocker is enabled. And B, I don't have a Facebook account. But let's see. Oh, yes, it does seem to work. So this is Elizabeth Warren.
These are the actual ads. Yeah. And you can see ad performance. So click on a.
So this search is going to be who bought the ad
no, this is whatever. Anything that mentions Elizabeth Warren. So I also did a search on Wall.
So, and it does say, by the way, Trump, which is great in the archive, who paid for the ad.
Who paid for it, when it started. Then if you click on performance.
Okay.
The bottom of one of those, you'll see, and inevitably it's a small, each one, they're doing A/B Z testing.
$100. Less than 1,000 impressions.
And then you see who demographically, male, female, and age, got it, and then you scroll down, you see location.
So she was buying women in California.
She was buying California, yeah, right.
Okay. So that's one of many Trump ad buys.
So there were Trump ads. If you just search on Trump,
okay.
There's it's also really telling the volume. Earlier this afternoon, I looked on Trump and I saw his ads after his speech last night. I had to scroll like 25 pages to get to them today. Later on, a few hours later, because there's so many ads that mention Trump.
Now some of these are
pro and positive.
Yeah.
Pro and negative.
But
right?
It's interesting who's paying for these. So do we know, for instance, it doesn't say this is a Russian, like every town for gun safety. Does it say, do we know who they are?
It doesn't say who that is.
Right.
No. But they have a page, and you can go to that page.
Okay.
And see what's what. So I found it, for journalists, it's going to be really interesting to see what messages are out there. And, who's pitching what. So I looked at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, ads about her, ads about guns, ads about the wall.
All of these are like less than $100. They're very inexpensive. They're very specific.
Very small because they're tested.
Yeah.
And highly targeted.
And if you think back to even the Russian troll factory, the Internet Research Agency didn't spend a huge amount of money. No. Some of those campaigns were tiny.
Well, this is why, I hate to say it, this is why I feel threatened by Facebook, and every ad-based content provider should feel threatened. From an advertiser's point of view, this is gold.
Yeah.
You can target so precisely.
Oh, yeah.
And there's other targeting here, of course, we don't see that I wish we saw.
Like what? Like we don't see what the buy, the name of the buy. I'd like to see, because when you do an ad buy, you're picking an interest group, right?
Yeah.
I would like to see what the actual parameters of the ad buy.
That's what I'm saying. Yes. Yeah. Yes. And if you look at the news this week about polling data being shared with the Russians. What's interesting about that is if you could compare the polling data in certain states with what was bought by Cambridge Analytica, right? Then you start to see whether collusion really exists, and you know that Mueller has this.
Yeah.
But even
this
that
tells
story
you
aside,
so much. This is
if you look at something like Wall and you start to see what are the messages that people are buying to try to get across their view.
And
right?
by the way, it's both sides.
So here you see money against, it's both sides.
Yeah.
And so you see money against money. And you also see people exploiting this issue for their own purposes. You see media doing it. You see politicians doing it. You see interest groups doing it. And this is, I mean, you couldn't get this kind of transparency before. You couldn't get this on TV.
So is this what you and others have been asking Facebook to do?
This is what the world asked them to do. And this is what they had to do. This is the transparency they had to have.
Is this GDPR driven? No.
No. This is American election driven.
I like whatever this group is, American AF. I'm American AF.
Oh boy, does it look like that? I mean, George Washington in a flak jacket.
I don't think Ben Franklin carried a sniper rifle, but maybe.
No.
Maybe. Could be. He was American AF. That's hysterical.
So they're selling a T-shirt that says, "If you build it, they won't come."
And a remarkably
very slender
Donald
Trump.
Donald
yes.
Trump. Yeah, that's good.
You get a hoodie.
And this was all a result of the congressional hearings about the Russian troll factory.
Oh, this is the poster that Trump had on the desk or on the table during the cabinet meeting, right? The wall is coming. The playing off the meme, the Game of Thrones meme. Wow, this is really interesting.
It really is interesting, and it's great. I went into a rabbit hole like crazy for a while. So here's Adam Schiff for Congress. Congress.
You think he's running
it's
for president?
all $100 bot.
They're so efficient, though. Exactly, he's buying these older demographics entirely in California.
What we can't see is they're doing ABs on other interests and other things.
I would love to see that, but good on Facebook for making this available.
Yes, I mean, Mathew, I thought of you as I was playing with this. I can imagine the stories that you're going to get out of this.
Yeah, it's a very useful tool. And
it's
now
also, go ahead.
It sounds like they're going to exclude news stories from it, at least eventually.
That was the controversy. And there's some media ads here, is that if it had a political content, then Facebook was saying you had to register as a political advertiser and you had to have your ad here. The New York Times screamed bloody murder, but Facebook just handled it badly, because what Facebook should have said at the beginning is, we're going to go for transparency in advertising, starting with all ads that have political content that includes everything. And what can you object to, New York Times? You should be doing this. Instead, the New York Times said, well, you're trying to make us register as a political actor. We object to that, A, or B, you're not taking our ad because we wouldn't do this. So they handled it horribly. Jesus, somebody paid for that?
Nice.
How well did it do?
Sponsored by Scamazon.
Fantastic.
I searched for Twit, and this is all I found. So
Stephen Miller and that gun-loving attention Twit are the same person. Who'da thunk? And it's Stephen Miller's face in a
some girl's skimpy outfit.
The gun-loving student.
Let's see the ad performance on that, Leo. I got to see the ad performance. How much did they spend on that?
So this is why, Jeff, you're teaching that was aimed at men. Really? Men and unknown, and
Texas,
mostly in Texas, Florida, and New York. Well, those are our big population states.
Yeah, that's it.
And gun-loving.
And gun-loving as well. So this is why, Jeff, you teach data mining to journalists.
Yeah.
Big data is very important, and the ability to, this would be a lot of work, but presumably there's a methodology you could use to go through stuff like this and make some sense out of it and get a story.
What I don't know is whether there's an API for this. I was going to ask Facebook people I know.
I doubt it.
Because what you see 30 different ads that are basically the same.
Yeah.
You want to be able to compile that into one and get some sense of what the total reach was.
Yeah, this is the raw data.
And the reach numbers are all in small ranges. I mean, it's of limited use.
Yeah.
When we get to the other story I really want to talk about, which is the kids are all right story. If you tie this to that, one thing that researchers don't know is what are people seeing in their feeds? What's influencing them in that way? And this starts to answer that a little bit. This starts to say, what are old people seeing?
So your Medium article basically talked about a research study from NYU and Princeton.
Just out.
Just
today.
out. And what was the
let's
result?
Give credit where Andrew Guest, Jonathan Nagler, Joshua Tucker. I knew about this from Josh. So they I'll explain it a little bit first. They used a couple of lists of fake news domains, one from Craig Silverman of BuzzFeed, who we all love, plus another one. And then they asked, who's sharing that on Facebook? And the way they did this, they went to YouGov and they asked people some questions. What's your how old are you? What's your political bent? And so on. Then they said, and they very transparently said, are you willing to install an app that will let us see what you're sharing on Facebook? And half the 3,500 people they went to said yes. So they got a body of people and they saw what are they sharing. And the caveat here is obvious. There's a limited body of fake news, so there's other fake news they weren't looking at. But
it's also somewhat self-selecting group of people because they're on YouGov to begin with.
Right.
Right. So there's all kinds of caveats like that. But
and they agreed to install.
They agreed to do it.
All of that. Yeah. All of that.
Yeah.
But what came out of this is fascinating. I think is really an important first step of research because what it said was, number one, that very little. Again, these were the domains that Craig Silverman said were the most shared. These were the big ones. Right.
Okay.
These are the ones that he said were most seen.
Somewhat overpowering those other factors.
So only 88.2% of people shared any of it. Okay, so sharing was not big. More than 90% of people did not share it. But here's the key point. The sharing was done by old people. People 65 plus shared 7 times more than people 18 to 29, which is to say, stealing a joke from Josh Tucker, the kids are all right, grandpa's the problem.
Yeah.
This age factor stood irregardless of education, party affiliation, ideology, sex, race, or income. They factored for that, and still age was the key factor here. Yes, conservatives, ultra-conservatives, and independents shared more than Democrats, though the researchers say at this time, most of the content known as fake was pro-Trump, so that's somewhat self-selecting. And finally, they found that people who share the most on Facebook were the least likely to share crap. So there's all these things that we think, everybody's sharing this stuff, everybody's seeing this stuff, the kids are screwing up the world, and people who share a lot of stuff are messing up. No, people who share a lot do know the difference between fact and not, and choosing not to share this stuff. No, the kids are okay. It's old people. So a lot of this talk we have about how we need news literacy for young people because they're messing up. Nah, we need this for grandpa. So that's the spiel.
You should also cross-correlate this with who votes because grandpa and grandma vote a hell of a lot more than Sonny.
That too. So you start to, now you take this with the Facebook thing we just saw and say, because one thing I want to see is also what's their media consumption. Who's watching Fox News? Who's listening to talk radio? Who has a Sinclair station near them? If it's conservatives, does that have an impact?
But none of this is that surprising. After all, nationalism is essentially nostalgia, and it makes sense that it would be appeal to older people. That younger people who are going to be around longer might be more concerned about global issues than national issues.
Absolutely, but that's not the narrative in media. The narrative in media has been. Young people are messing up the world.
Yes,
people who share so much on Facebook are messing up the world. Not the case.
Yeah. In fact, I think.
Sorry, Matthew. You were.
I think young people. We got to get young people to vote, and that'll solve a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Matthew.
Jeff, have you seen Yochai Benkler's book, Network Propaganda?
Got a shelf behind me. I haven't read it yet. Have you read it yet, Matthew? It's really good.
Yeah, it's good. Obviously, he's extremely knowledgeable, and so are his co-authors. But an interesting part of what he's looking at the issue of whether Facebook helped swing the election, and one of his major points is that old people swung the election, and old people aren't on Facebook.
Yeah, interesting.
So you'd be better off blaming Fox News than you would Facebook.
Yeah. I think so too. Yes.
Benkler's earlier book, The Wealth of Networks, I've read, and is really good.
Yeah, he's a genius. I mean, he's been studying this stuff, longer than most of us have known the internet existed.
And my colleague Kerry Brown interviewed him there. Unfortunately, there's not a tape, but he's just amazing. So I think that my only point is that there's a lot of provocative presumptions in media about the state of things, and we need research and we need data, because the interventions are often the wrong interventions, the wrong presumptions, and it's not just the blatherings in media, it's also going to go to regulation and what's done there. We've got to have research like this and fund more research like this.
Well, and it does as much as I hate to say Mark Zuckerberg was right, when his first response was, fake news is a tiny, tiny proportion of what happens on Facebook, and so it's hard to believe it had any impact. More and more research comes out, suggests that he might actually have been right about that.
Yeah. Yeah, it just, in a PR sense, it wasn't wise to say so.
Right.
So thank you. Those are my two favorite stories of the week. I wanted to get that because I think they're really fascinating how they interlock.
Yeah, no kidding. Network propaganda, manipulation, disinformation, and radicalization in American politics. Yochai Benkler from Oxford University Press. What he does, which is great, is he makes everything Creative Commons. So you can download it free if you want.
Yeah, I downloaded it for free.
Yeah.
And Yochai, however, I bought your book.
Yeah.
Because friends buy friends' books.
Yeah. Well, especially when friends agree.
Yeah.
It's especially helpful when the friends agree. So, gosh, this seems like such a minor thing. Angela Merkel, the Prime Minister of Germany, and many other German politicians were hacked, massive data dump, released of all sorts of stuff, emails, chat transcripts, photos, and phone numbers. You know, this story broke last week. I haven't seen a lot of embarrassing stuff. Was there embarrassing information?
I think the German media has been so cautious about,
good on them.
Unlike Podesta emails, they immediately went into worry mode. And Germany just went through a huge journalistic scandal I wrote about a few weeks ago, of Spiegel, of making up stories. And so they're very much in navel gazing mode right now. And immediately
they have some pretty stringent laws around reporting private information as well.
So the other thing they did very quickly, the BKA, Germany's investigative police force, arrested somebody they say was responsible for this leak all by himself, a 20-year-old. He's actually confessed, and he says, I was acting alone.
Notably, the only party that didn't get affected by this was the AfD, the far-right party.
Oh, interesting.
And you'll notice that if you look at it, most of what he did was guess passwords and or use social engineering.
So really, the issue is more InfoSec, OPSEC than
1, 2, 3, 4 passwords will get you a lot of information.
Will they never learn? Well, what was Podesta's password? Wasn't it password, or was that it was something bad? I think
it was something bad. No.
I remember
the problem was Podesta got phished.
He was phished. That's right.
Yeah.
And the truth is, and we've said this many times, if you are the target, particularly if you're a target of a nation state, you have to have extremely good operational security.
You have no chance.
Because there's all sorts of ways they can get your password. It doesn't have to be one.
And social engineering is way more powerful than just brute force
explain
hacking.
something to me, Steve in absentia. The Google puts out its security dongle thing.
Yeah.
Right?
The YubiKey.
Yeah, thank you. What is it again, Matthew?
Well, one is a YubiKey. Google's is not. It's called the Titan.
Google's is their version of a YubiKey.
Yeah.
And so and they say that has an impact on stopping phishing. How does that
It's basically two-factor. So
really? Okay,
the reason it would help with phishing is I can get you to enter in your credentials with a phishing
But without
email.
this.
But what I won't get is this dongle, and this one-time password refreshes every 30 seconds. So unless the phishing attack is very timely, nothing you get from it will help you steal that account. And it's
going to be harder and harder. It's going to be harder to convince people, hey, you should type in the code from your little key. Like as soon as you ask for that, it's going to be obvious what you're trying to do.
I think we're gonna get pretty good at this stuff.
Yeah,
and certainly the people who want to can. The disadvantage of using two-factor, well, I use two-factor with Google, and everybody should, and with everything you can use. And if you're willing to use a key like the YubiKey or I'm not sure I'd use the Titan, But I love Yubico, and their YubiKeys are great. I carry one with me at all times, and that's a pretty good protection because somebody would. It's not a phone. It's not a text message. They would physically have to get this key from me. When I put this in a USB slot and press the button, it generates that one-time code. That's a pretty secure technology.
And I was just actually reading about how easy it is to get access to the texts,
SMS
even if you don't have access to the person's phone.
Right.
You can basically spoof messages and effectively get the text with the two-factor. So their two-factor is useless to you now.
Right.
That's not a USB-C though, is it, Leo?
You can just put an adapter on that if you want. And the Titan that Google sells does both Bluetooth. Actually, I think they do a double key. They do a Bluetooth one and they do a USB one. And that's because iPhones don't have a way to do the USB thing or NFC. So they have to use something that does Bluetooth. But that's fine. And Google has a little Bluetooth authentication app and all of that stuff. The problem is inconvenient. You know, you can't lose this. It also eliminates, if you use the strong authentication that Google has available, the advanced protection, then there's other things you can't do. Advanced protection was too difficult. So
what happens if you do lose that?
If you're not using advanced protection, you can recover it using a phone number or something like that. That's an important point, by the way. Whatever the fallback method is, that's the weakest link.
Yeah.
So if you have a bank that says, "Oh, use a YubiKey," or if you lose your YubiKey, you can ask for an SMS message. That's what hackers are going to use. So that's as insecure as SMS. So that's important to understand that as well. These are complicated things, but I think we're getting better at understanding them. And
I do think banks have gotten better. At least I've noticed Canadian banks have with security questions.
Right.
So it's no longer mother's maiden name. It's things like, who was your favorite superhero? You know, what was your first pet's name?
Those are still terrible, those
Some of them are,
questions.
but they're better than they used to be.
Yeah.
They're better than they used to be.
Yeah. I use something, I use strong encryption technologies. I use GPG and, the YubiKey and stuff like that. You can get, by the way, somebody's saying, and it's true, you can have multiple YubiKeys registered with your two-factor in most cases. So if you lose one.
Oh, so you can keep one hidden somewhere.
Yeah, keep one in a vault. Yeah, so I have one at home that's locked away. Yeah. I use Keybase. I should give them a plug. Maybe I do
too.
Do you? I really love these guys. More and more, I'm using Keybase for a lot of things. This is a free service, which is pretty remarkable.
What do you use it for? I signed up, but
everything. So, what I would recommend doing is generate a PGP key locally. You can have them do it, but it's not as good. Do it locally. Don't give them the private key. Keep the private key to yourself. That's always the thing you must keep secure. In fact, you can put it on a YubiKey if you want, if you really want to make it secure. But do give them the private key. That way I can follow Mathew. Mathew can follow me. And when I want to send a message to Mathew encrypted, I can do that. But there's other things. They offer Git. So I use their encrypted Git to store all my keys, but also my taxes, things I want to keep private. They also have a file system that is an encrypted file system. And that's kind of wild. If I go to leolaporte.keybase.pub, you'll get a file. This is actually what appears in my email signature that can't be changed by anybody but me. You'd have to have my private key to modify this. And this has this is basically a proof of who I am, what I do. All these sites, the phone number, everything, those are mine, certified by me in Keybase. And so that's a nice feature. I use this as my email signature now because it can't be modified. I can go on and on. Keybase is a really good way to use PGP. They have chat as well, Slack-style chat. I use that. So you and I can have encrypted chat as good as Signal. It's the same quality of chat.
See, I signed up a long time ago when I thought it was just, authentication. I thought,
it was
just for, but I didn't realize they had all this other stuff.
They've added so many. They have a file system, an encrypted file system now.
Interesting.
They have this encrypted chat. They have believe it or not, they have a cryptocurrency as well that they're supporting called Lumens. I'm not sure what that's.
Right.
I'm not sure what that's involved with. And then, so what is your What is your Keybase? Let me search for all the Mathews with one T. And I can follow you. And then that way, the best thing about that, there it is, Mathew I. The best thing about that, I already am following you, is if you change your key, as I do, once in a while, it will. You can change it here, so I'll always have the latest. If I'm messaging with you and you change your key, it will tell me his key has changed. You might want to verify that he did that. You also
should update the bio info.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, I love it. 2 jobs ago.
Says I worked at Gigo.
Yeah. I would keep this. I use this like crazy. I really think this is, and it's free. The guys who did this, I think, made money on another startup. I'm trying to remember their.
Yeah, because free services always make me nervous.
As they should. But they're pretty amazing. They've really done some incredible. Those messages in the chat are also exploding. You can have exploding messages.
Nice.
So after you set the timer, so after 30 seconds or a minute or an hour, like Mission Impossible, the message self-destructs. Yeah, they have Teams, they have chat. It's really, they've raised money, so they must have some way of monetizing it.
Fascinating.
But yeah, right now it's completely free. And
did you, maybe this is going off topic, but
we can't do that.
Oh,
what?
I wrote about the Internet Archive making an appeal to get Brazilian content. It's interesting that obviously they back up all kinds of things on the Internet Archive, and they do it routinely. But Jason Scott, I think is his name, reached out specifically to people saying, look, if you have Brazilian content that you think might go away because there's a new president.
They're worried about Bolsonaro.
Yeah, they're worried about censorship, and it was just fascinating. So they're doing a special run kind of to back up things in case they disappear, news sites, information about the country and so on. But it just reminded me of how much the archive does, and also of how, so Jason, I think, runs something called the archive team, and mostly volunteers, I believe. And you can actually install a virtual machine that will use your spare cycles and web browser to help the archive.
Oh, I'm going to do that right now.
Bro. Yeah,
that's awesome.
I set one up, and it was really easy, and it doesn't use a lot. You're not going to notice, I don't think. And then I mentioned how Civil, the blockchain-powered journalism platform, one of their sort of pitches was that the blockchain makes permanent archiving of content easier because it effectively goes to everyone who participates in the blockchain.
Yeah. Although you really wouldn't want to store the entire Internet Archive on your home hard drive.
It doesn't scale well. But Popula, so Popula is one of the magazines that's based on Civil. They published the first article that was effectively distributed on the blockchain or archived on the blockchain. And they also mentioned that this is the rabbit hole. They mentioned that it was stored or distributed via the interplanetary file system. Have you heard of that one?
Yeah, that rings a bell. Tell me about that.
Yes. So IPFS is, I just love the name, interplanetary file system.
They're ambitious.
And the assumption is, you want a file system that's extremely distributed, that it's open source, no one controls it. It's a little like, I guess, Freenet, if you remember that one. There's been sort of similar projects, but it's got a built-in hashing, encryption. It's a fascinating. I need to do more research, but I thought it was an interesting.
These guys, if you've used the Wayback Machine, I know a lot of our listeners and viewers are familiar with that. You know about the Internet Archive. They're saving the entire internet. And boy, is this a huge and important thing. I didn't know that I could help. So by offering
I didn't know that either.
Cycles, so I'm gonna
archive team.
I want to join the archive team, man. I got a few computers lying around.
There's a whole wiki. There's a whole wiki that describes how they do it, and you just download a virtual machine, and away you go.
Nice. I will do that.
I should have saved that for my thing at the end. Oh, damn.
Yeah, we both just gave
Darn.
away
Yeah.
our things.
Yeah.
All right, there's always more.
I still have my numbers.
Are you ready for free samples from Amazon?
Yeah, please.
That's really
Sure.
interesting. So apparently, Amazon wants to use, this is according to Axios. Let me actually quote the Axios story. Amazon wants to use what it knows about what you like and what you want to buy to send you free samples from brands like Maybelline. How about Folgers coffee? See, if they send me Folgers coffee, they don't know as much about me as they think.
Please don't do that.
Please don't. I'll take some Maybelline, but no Folgers coffee. This is really interesting. Of course, free samples are an age-old form of marketing. You know, you can't go into a big box store like a Costco or a Sam's Club without having food and other things pressed upon you.
When I was at Advance, we invested in a company years ago that did nothing but this, but it was a little too early. But if I know one piece of data about you and I send you the free sample, it's a great hook.
Absolutely. And that's something Amazon says Google and Facebook can't match. They don't really have your address. They don't have your physical address.
Oh, that problem.
Right?
Well,
maybe they do.
Yeah. That's a point. That's a point.
Yeah, I mean, Amazon's always, I'm getting boxes from Amazon every day, so one more box.
If Google said, here's 10 free things, all you have to do is give me your address, you're going to give me your address.
True. Apparently, customers have already acknowledged getting samples of products from major brands. Mascara from L'Oreal's Maybelline brand and Folgers coffee. Amazon, said one Twitter user, sent me a random coffee sample. Is it because I've liked 15 different types of coffee in my cart? Yeah, maybe.
The other thing they should do, I would think, are they sending out separate order? They should be putting this in with your order so you have an Easter egg with your orders. You have more reasons to want to order because you get something free with it, and it's a little delight.
I used to always order my audio gear from Sweetwater because they'd throw a few candy pieces in the box.
Well, just like the president brings candy to meetings.
That's right. It's nothing wrong with candy.
Be a sucker for him. Yeah.
Yeah. I gave you candy. I wonder what kind of candy he brought, though.
I do, too. I really wonder.
Was it C's? Warren Buffett's candy? No. Was it
cosmic candy with a little, makes you give it a little buzz, maybe?
Was it made in China? Amazon.
Borscht flavored.
Good and plenty.
Thanks to the decline of Apple, Amazon is now the most valuable U.S. company. First time ever. At $797 billion. Not $1 trillion company. Nobody is at trillion anymore. Apple's about 700 some billion. So Microsoft is number 2 with 785, but Amazon passed it on Monday.
And Bezos is about to lose half of that.
He's going to give it to his wife. I thought that was, by the way, that tweet from Jeff, and I wasn't going to do the story because I didn't think it was, it's not.
I think it's good. What's interesting is how he did it. Yes.
I thought the tweet was really kind of sweet.
Yeah.
And he did it the way people used to do tweets before there was 250 characters. You'd take a picture of text and tweet it. Maybe he hadn't gotten the memo that there's enough room to type that now. He announced his divorce from his wife of 25 years. But it sounds like they're friends.
Sounds amicable. Yeah.
He said if we'd known we would separate after 25 years, we'd do it all again. Though the labels might be different, we remain a family and we remain cherished friends. I thought that was really sweet.
Yeah, it was.
If he knew he had to give up $70 billion, would he do that again?
Well, I like gossip, so I read all the stories, and she was right. They met when he was at Shaw.
Before he even started.
Before she drove him across country. They drove across country together while he's typing the business plan for Amazon. She's driving to Seattle. She worked in the warehouse. She did fulfillment.
Oh, yeah.
She worked. So, she better get half of it. She better get half of it.
And she will.
And I think, almost certainly will.
But it does point out that it's neither of their interests for him to have to liquidate to pay her.
That's for sure.
In fact, he has limits on how much
to vote together.
He has something like 16% of Amazon stock, but he is only allowed to liquidate $1 billion a year. Liquidated $1 billion a year.
Yeah, it's in both their interest to build wealth. This way. So and to vote together and so on. So it's. presuming they act like grown-ups, it shouldn't affect the company. And full disclosure is I have some Amazon stock.
I'm sure I do too.
I probably do, but it's not. I never bought it. It's in a. I have all of the stocks in the S&P 500. So those are all my investments are index funds and big baskets. So
it is by millions of miles the best performing single stock I've ever bought.
Amazon is? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Beautiful
it
thing.
kills me because I look and I watch and I think, oh, I wish I could buy some Google or Apple or Amazon.
Yeah.
But then you know, things happen and I go, God, I'm sure glad I don't have any Apple stock. So it you know, I don't know.
So Kramer says, I have this in the rundown, that there's time to buy all the FANG stocks, except he doesn't take Netflix. But he thinks that they're all undervalued now.
Well, this is, I don't want to make those calculations. I don't want to have to do market timing. That's why I invest in the strength of the United States economy.
What's that famous phrase? I'm not interested in a return on my money. I'm interested in a return of my money.
I'll take that at this point. Yes, I'd like it back, please.
Or as I said about my Time Inc. stock after I got it, my FU money said FU to me.
Oh, man, there's so many other stories. You want to do the right to be forgotten?
Yeah.
That's fairly minor, but it's just that it now reaches France's effort to say you can't just erase stuff in France. You have to do it worldwide, which Google's fighting. I'm glad they're fighting it. It now reaches Europe's highest court. So we'll see where this goes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a ridiculous requirement.
Amen. Well, Canada, my friend, has been pushing some things.
I know.
Not that you
It's
defend
going
all
to break
of
the
Canada.
internet. It's going to break the internet.
But, I mean, the whole right to be forgotten thing is broken, and it passed.
It's terrible.
It survived.
Yeah, it's bad enough all by itself, but to implement it in a way or to require everyone to remove it because your country decided, it's just...
Hello, Russia,
why have
Iran,
an internet?
China.
Yeah.
You set a
Turkey,
precedent.
Yeah.
But when I say this in Europe, they jump down my throat. They think right to be forgotten is a raging success.
I mean, the way they look at personal information is very different.
Google made a $60 million acquisition. That's, you know, Larry Page's cigarette money. They bought an expert community and answer engine called Superpod. The speculation, according to Search Engine Land, is it's an acquire. They just want the founders,
I would imagine,
for Google Assistant. Although somebody was saying, when is Google going to buy, or maybe Microsoft? Actually, it'd be better to buy Microsoft to buy Stack Exchange, which is, I mean, Microsoft's snapping up. They got GitHub. They're kind of trying to be the open platform, you know, corporate advocate. Stack Exchange would be a very good way to reach out to developers. I wonder if that's on their shopping list. I don't care about system-wide dark mode and Android Q. Do you?
No, I hate dark mode. I despise dark.
Really.
I turn it off immediately.
Good. So I won't do the story then. So
You
there.
have some strong feelings about dark mode.
So there.
So, all right, here's one.
I know
CES.
I know what you want to do, but oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because it's actually interesting.
Is it the vibrator one?
Yeah. So CBS gave an award to a AI-powered smart vibrator, and then withdrew the award, saying it was immoral, obscene, indecent, or profane under its rules, which is sexist as hell. So now they're getting proper hell because it's
dumb.
a female orgasm.
Well, but wait a minute. I mean, is there a male orgasm machine that they did give the award to?
Well, but they're basically saying
no.
Are they saying because it's for women? It's they're being.
What was CES? You were in CBS in the old days. In CES in the old days, you went to one whole hall, and what was it? It was nothing
Adult
but video.
Expo, and they moved that out.
Nothing.
Yeah, they shut that down.
But CES's roots are masturbation. Come on.
That is not a show title, no matter what you say, chat room.
If we include metaphorical masturbation, then sure.
You could, I think, properly say that CES realized that because what it was is, you know, it was the rise of the VHS and recorders. All of a sudden, a lot of the videotapes being sold were adult, so they at first they were getting all these people booths with adult videotapes. They put them off in a showroom, and eventually, not much longer after that, they said, "Get out of here, go do your own thing." And then for a while, it was held at the same time as CES, but not related to CES. And was it the AVN Adult Video Network Expo or something? And now it's, I think, even at a different time. I think you could say they pushed them out. So this is more of the same. They don't want CES to become an adult expo again.
No, but the interesting, but this was done in partnership with the University of Oregon.
Oh. So here's an update. $1 million
in funding. It's kind of interesting.
An update as of yesterday at 3 p.m. A spokesperson for CES told Motherboard the product does not fit into any of our existing product categories and should not have been accepted for the Innovation Awards program. CTA has communicated this position to Lori DiCarlo. We have apologized to the company for our mistake. So now they're saying it's not immoral, it just doesn't fit.
Meanwhile, CES has a talking toilet.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that. It sounds
a
pretty interesting.
$7,000 Alexa-powered toilet, Leo Soaps. That
seems a little expensive, but
yeah, a smart toilet for your
it's got a
dumb
lot of
rear
cool
end.
features.
What could it possibly do, Matthew? What could it do?
So the lights can sync up to your playlist if you use Alexa.
So you dance on the toilet?
So there's that.
I swear we saw this last year, but this was a different company. Is that why? I mean,
Yeah, there's different smart toilets every year.
Every year.
I finally got the Toto to work.
Oh, good. How do you like it?
Hotel. It was okay, but a little creepy.
Well, you get used to it. Pretty soon you crave it.
What did you get to work? I'm sorry.
The Toto to work.
The Japanese butt washing toilet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Now I don't want to live without it.
Do you have it?
Oh, yeah. They're a sponsor, Jeff.
You can get an add-on.
Right. Not only do we have it, I've got one in every bathroom of my house, and then they became a sponsor.
I can see getting
chased them because we love them so much.
Is it an add-on? Like, do you add it to an existing toilet?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's one called Tushy that my aunt swears by.
Well, it's
not as good as a Toto. Toto is in a fair number.
I'm sure it's not.
It's the same idea.
Of Google restrooms.
Okay. Really?
I've been in Google restrooms where there is Totos.
I think that's very civilized.
It is.
I just find it. I've always found it fascinating, and maybe this is a rabbit hole we don't want to go down, but I have always found it fascinating visiting Europe how bidets are just totally taken for granted, and everybody thinks it's weird not to have one. And in North America, it's so unusual that if you even mention it, people just think you're. It's such a bizarre kind of.
Yeah.
You know, it's
my mother's family had some ne'er-do-well relatives who went to live in Europe for like a year, and they came back all European with like berets and accents. And in Lewistown, Illinois, little Lewistown, Illinois, in their house they installed a bidet, and the entire town was scandalized.
Scandalized.
I'm sure, yes.
Scandalized.
Where did they get it? They have to order
I
it
don't
from
know.
Europe?
They brought it back on the ship. I don't know.
You get bidets now everywhere, yeah.
Yeah, but in the old days, literally nobody knew what you were talking about.
Dipper.
In the rest of the world, we are considered filthy Americans for our toilet habits.
Well, then we also have to provide, I'm going to get through this, we also have to provide automated dog toilet. I think that's a good idea.
Was that at CES
Great
too?
idea.
Yes.
Great. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we have an automated cat kitty litter.
That, yes.
Well,
but dogs have to go outside.
Where does it put it?
It's a giant spaceship.
Okay.
And the cat goes in, and then there's normal litter there.
Yeah.
And then after the cat gets out, it senses the cat has left, and it starts to rotate.
Okay.
And then I don't know.
There's a pan or something?
Yeah,
or?
there's a whole thing going on. And then
just once it makes a mistake and the cat is traumatized and never takes a pee again.
Does it wrap it up in a baggie and like leave it?
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
Okay.
Kind of, sort of.
Did your cat have any problems adjusting to it?
No.
No.
Although now Lisa wants to toilet train the kitties. But I think that's inconsistent with the Toto.
Because we got a big, it wasn't automated, but we got a big cat litter pan with a roof on it and all sorts of features, and the cat would not go anywhere near it.
Yeah, cats are funny that way.
Yeah. No interest in.
Yeah, but I think if cat gets squirted once by the toilet, it's not going to.
Oh yeah, that's not going to be good.
It's not going back. So on October 10th, here comes Lisa. I don't know if I'm in trouble or not. CES revoked this award on October 10th. The company got a congratulatory. Hi. She's just watching. She says a congratulatory email.
Hi, Lisa.
Jeff says hi. She goes hi back. A congratulatory email from CES naming it an honoree in the robotics. Our CEO, ladies and gentlemen, Lisa Laporte. No relation.
Take a bow.
Right now, she doesn't want to be related to you. No.
They were an honoree in the robotics and drone category, and that's actually not so far-fetched because it was developed with using 8 technology and robotics partnerships in partnership with the Oregon State University Product Development Lab. This is the Osei personal massager, formerly called Vela. Oh, I have a Vela. I didn't realize this was the same. It looked the same. Well, I have to review everything.
Sure.
On October 31st, CTA emailed, this is 3 weeks later, emailed Laura DiCarlo's team to inform them the association was revoking the award, saying it was immoral, obscene, indecent, profane, or not keeping in with CTA's image, and thus disqualified. Laura Haddock, the company's founder, said this is an obvious double standard when it comes to sexuality and sexual health. While there are sex and sexual health products at CES, it seems that CES applies the rules differently for companies and products based on the gender of their customers. This is what you were talking about, Jeff.
This is the issue.
Men's sexuality is allowed to be explicit there's, for instance, a literal sex robot in the shape of an unrealistically proportioned woman.
Ooh.
And VR porn in point of pride along the aisle. Female sexuality, on the other hand, is heavily muted, if not outright banned. She has a point there. Now CES is backing off, saying, oh, it wasn't that it was immoral, but it didn't fit the category, which is worse because they're basically...
that's not what they said, though.
It's in writing that they said it was immoral.
Yeah, so I was not raising this to be...
Prurient.
Prurient. No, not at all. I think there was an interesting issue here.
Meanwhile, there's the self-driving suitcases.
If anybody gets near me one of those at Newark Airport, I'm kicking it.
So useful.
Do you not feel that what we are seeing from CES is exactly what we've seen in years past, that there is nothing absolute? This is just their... I know we saw that suitcase last year.
Oh, yeah. And the year before.
It's just silly. Oh, and now this is what gets me, by the way. He's not at CES. I just want to point this out. This is my biggest problem with CES, and you guys know about this. He's at one of the pre-show showstoppers at PepCom. Okay. So all the products you'll see, because everybody's on deadline and they want it in their hurry and they're lazy and they like quick meals, are at these pre-events where companies pay $10,000 and more. Right. They're a small subset of the bigger companies. There's hundreds of thousands of booths at CES. There's 100 at this event, but they feed you, and almost all the coverage comes from these mini expos, and that's what this is. Just a few weird tech products we saw at CES in 2019 at Showstoppers or PepCom, whichever it is. They are weird. This is that toilet. Actually, this is from, I'm confused. This has branding all over it from The Late Show, and here's Colbert talking about it. I get it. The Echo-powered toilet. Now he's on the show floor, I think. Now he's wandering the halls. This is Jeffrey.
He's still in a hotel there. Yeah. So what about the folding TV screen, Leo?
Saw it last year.
Did you find any interest in that? Was it last year?
LG showed it last year.
They did?
Yes. This year, they're saying, but we're going to ship it sometime this year. This is not new. We saw it last year. And they act as if, this we saw last year, the Forward X Ovis suitcase that walks around behind you. There's Fowler trying to trick it.
Which is a dumb idea, by the way.
Well, I don't know. Is it?
I think so.
You don't,
it's going to get in the way.
You don't want a suitcase that follows you around?
No, because I'm trying to get around that guy. That guy's pissing me off at Newark.
And then you come to the stairs or the escalator, and then it's just
there are suitcases. Man, now maybe I'm confusing with the one that you could ride around the airport.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one.
That one got banned in airports. People did.
Oh, did
yeah. People apparently didn't want you riding around in the airport at 13 miles an hour on your suitcase.
Didn't a bunch of airlines ban the ones that have phone chargers in them?
Well, yeah, no, you can't. In fact, this is very frustrating. In fact, one of our sponsors some time ago, Away, remember, made bags that had batteries in them, and they're great. I love my Away bag, but you can't check it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can only either be carrying. So now all of these new battery bags have removable batteries, which, if you ask me, is no different than just having a battery.
Carrying a battery. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to take it out of my suitcase and put it in my backpack, which was where it was going to be anyway. Oh.
Plus, by the way, for my now old-fashioned Pixel 2X, I never carry chargers anymore. It keeps it. I'm fine. Yeah. I'm good. Finally. First phone where it's been the case.
You don't play Pokemon Go.
True, I do not. I do not. I'm too old.
I actually have now invested in. We have a beautiful charging station built for me by the Wood Whisperer. It's loaded with portable battery packs so that we can just grab and go.
Grab one.
Grab and go. Play Pokemon Go. I paid on Kickstarter. I think it was 2 years ago, and it arrived 2 days ago, and I was like, what is this? What is this?
That probably happens to you a lot.
A lot. It says when you pledge that it will arrive November 2017. I think they missed that date, but I did just get it. This is Samsara, the world's first aluminum smart suitcase. Among its many, I did buy it, and I do have it now. Yeah, among its many features are the fact that it's got
amazing creation begins with the clash of.
Oh my God! It just goes.
It's got a battery in it.
It's got a battery in it, and
you feel so embarrassed.
And the battery powers LEDs, so that when this is the other feature. It's got a flat top, so you can put your laptop on it at the airport, and it's just like a desk.
Nice.
It is aluminum. As they say, the same material that airplanes are made out of. And it has an app. It's the first luggage I've ever used that has an app. And the app's chief purpose seems to be to let you know if somebody steals your suitcase.
Right, to track it.
Yeah. It doesn't track it exactly. It's a separation monitor because once they got it. And it has a power bank, but you have to take it out. And it looks exactly like the ones I bought. So I don't know what the advantages of it. Anyway, I feel like I didn't miss anything at CES. It feels like it's just more of the same. Are we in just an amazing plateau?
I think in a way we are.
Yeah, I think the things that are going to get delivered are going to get delivered by things like voice.
Yeah. Here's some pretty good news. An autonomous robot was hit and killed by a self-driving Tesla.
Just going to mention that. I'm sure that was an accident, right?
It was in Vegas Sunday night at CES. A number of engineers were moving these robots to a display booth, getting ready for CES. It was a V4 model from Promobot. These are basically rentable for $2,000 a day to get people to come to your booth. After Sunday's collision, the firm revealed one of their creations had been killed. As the robots made their way to the booth around 7 p.m., it strayed out of line and into the parking lot roadway where it was struck by a Model S Tesla. The car was in autonomous mode.
And the Model S, people could hear it screaming.
The war of the robots begins.
There can be only one.
Oh, the insanity. That's too perfect.
That's the problem. It's too perfect.
Luckily, your autonomous toilet can't go out in the road and get hit by a car, so you're probably safe.
So we've had in the past the spit test DNA companies. We had 23andMe, and most recently we had Helix. There has been a kerfuffle, a big news story, and I don't know if this worries me at all, but I'm going to run it by you guys. 23andMe just did a deal, $300 million deal with GlaxoSmithKline.
Yeah, they took a big stake.
They bought a chunk of it.
Yeah. The
concern people have is that, in fact, GlaxoSmithKline admits it. that they will use the genetic data in 23andMe's database to look for new drugs to develop. That's why it's worth $300 million to them.
That makes total sense to me.
It will also use the genetic data to inform how patients are selected for clinical trials. To me, as long as the data is anonymous, who cares?
You know what? I go in and I answer every single question that 23andMe asks me.
Me too.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be really important data. Think about all the stuff you could learn about, lesser known diseases or genetic difficulties. How are you going to do research into that if you don't have the data?
You do sign. I didn't notice this when I did 23andMe years ago. I did Helix more recently. You do sign a thing called biobanking consent that tells 23andMe that they can keep your spit for up to 10 years.
That's a fun warehouse.
So do you consent to them owning the rights to whatever they develop?
Well, I should have read it more carefully. You can ask them to delete your spit. But you have to,
there was
that's
that
a
huge
fun
lawsuit,
job.
right?
Yeah.
About, trying to remember, Henrietta Lacks. Do you remember that story?
Yeah, the HeLa gene.
Yeah.
And that's a shameful story.
Fascinating story.
And yet her genes were used and are still used without her consent, permission, or even knowledge because she was African American.
They're the standard. Like those genes are that's the standard.
Yeah. So it's shameful that they kind of used her, but at the same time, it's been hugely valuable for research.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't, I
think there's a point at which we say that there is a greater good, and we haven't figured out how to deal with that yet when it comes to data and information. But it's a discussion that we have to have, and the reflex response cannot be share nothing with anyone. We have to balance.
Helix tosses your spit upon request, but can keep the data forever.
I want a video story. Welcome to the world's largest spit warehouse.
Yeah.
Spittoon.
Bank.
Ancestry, which also does this, says we do not and will not sell DNA without your explicit consent. You have to opt in, and you can revoke permission. I think that's the case with all three of these. I don't know. I guess, in fact, when we do the ads for both companies, people often in the chat room especially will say, I don't know. I don't know if I want to give these guys my DNA. And it's, it's true that at least right now it's, for the most part, just an amusement because although both 23andMe and Helix are going to do BRCA testing, which is a breast cancer gene that is considered by many to be a strong indicator of a future chance of getting breast cancer.
But you only get that if you specifically say, I want that.
You have to buy it, I think, in some cases.
Not to mention there's been at least a couple of cases now, I think, where police departments have been able to track down criminal suspects.
There was a case in California.
Because of their relationships to people in the database.
A long dead cold case. They got the guy, but it wasn't, this was a weird one. It wasn't, they didn't go to 23andMe or Helix or anybody. There's a genetic forum where people share their genetic information intentionally. Right. And his relatives had a DNA sample from some of the murders, and they were able to figure out these must be the relatives of the criminal, and they were able to catch the guy that way. So, that may be a forewarning of something that may be happening down the road in less palatable ways.
But I mean, there again, you've got a kind of slippery slope problem. It would be good to catch killers. It would be good to catch people who are guilty of horrible crimes. But it would be bad if, say, your insurance company got a hold of some information that they used against you.
This seems to be a conversation we have a lot on this show is, these trade-offs.
Yeah.
Yeah. If Stacey were here, she'd have a different view.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think? Should I call Helix and 23andMe and say, get rid of my spit? I don't care.
No, I want you to convert it into an ink for my fountain pen.
Ooh, that's a very good idea. Then when I give an autograph, I'll be giving a DNA sample.
Leo ink.
My daughter.
That's a cool idea.
Years ago, when Abby was like 8, and I took her to an autograph signing, which she thought was the strangest thing she'd ever seen. There were people lined up to meet her dad and do an autograph and take pictures. She said, why don't you just give them a vial of your spit? Now I know she was prescient.
She was right.
Yeah.
It was hard filling up that container, though. It's you got to get enough spit in it.
So you've done it.
A lot of spit. Oh, yeah.
You're not worried about it.
No,
I volunteered for the one where they publicly tell.
And you're hurt they didn't take you.
Yeah, the Personal Genome Project. I thought this was it was MIT. It was a really good idea. You pay, at the time, it was thousands of dollars for the genetic assay, and then you answer all their questions. And they said, we can't promise it'll stay private, so we're going to use your name. And I wanted to do that. Esther Dyson did. I wanted to do it.
Okay.
But somebody pointed out, and this is the other side of this, your DNA isn't just yours. My kids have some of my DNA.
So I had this discussion with Esther, in fact, and I said, well, Esther, I don't know. Now I've had prostate cancer. You know, everybody's going to know my son's. And she said, oh, get over it, Jeff. Everybody gets prostate cancer.
Well, that's true. You get old enough. If you're a man and if you live long enough, you get prostate cancer. You just unfortunately got it young.
Relatively.
But Helix is going to do APOE, which is an Alzheimer's Part of the problem is that these markers are not definitive that you will get it.
It's a percentage.
It's a percentage, and it has to do with nature and nurture. It's the gene, but also environment that expresses it.
And to be fair, they do a pretty good job of explaining that. Yeah. They make it very clear. This does not mean you're getting X.
Right. But that's the other story in the rundown, which is interesting, was that AI has, I think it was Google AI, beat diagnoses of Alzheimer's with brain scans by 6 years. It was better than humans at reading the brain scans.
In other words, the Google AI was able to see that somebody was likely to get Alzheimer's long before, 6 years before a doctor would have diagnosed it. In fact, did diagnose it because this was a longitudinal study.
And Alzheimer's is notoriously difficult to diagnose. In fact, the number one test to confirm whether you have Alzheimer's was done after death.
Right.
So they could only confirm it 100% after you die, and they look at your brain.
Right. Yeah, so that's what's really interesting about this, right? They had the samples. Yeah.
What was interesting about this, too, to me, is that you can't query the algorithm and say, well, how do you know that? What should we look for? Right? There's correlations that it figured out that become knowledge that it can't express, and we don't know.
We're gonna have to all get used to that. That's Alpha Zero.
It's the future of knowledge.
Yeah, these AIs don't have expressible rules. We're used to rule-based logic and programming.
Right. So we're going to lose control of knowledge and even wisdom.
I don't have a problem with that. And this again, I got to give credit to 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, Yuval Noah Harari. He said something I thought really clicked with me. He said, we're conflating artificial intelligence with mind or consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Just because something's artificially intelligent, able to detect Alzheimer's, does not mean it's conscious. It doesn't mean it has mind. And he says there's no real, we don't know, but there's no real evidence that this path,
one turns into the other.
Right. We don't know how intelligence becomes mind. We don't know what our mind is. And there's no evidence that it's going to, as you get, Google Assistant gets smarter and smarter, at some point it'll become conscious. That's a different process entirely, I think. So make AI better. That's okay. They're just going to be passive machines.
Better tools. We're not going to understand them.
Yes, but that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And by the time it becomes conscious, it'll be too late anyway.
We're gone,
The deep learning algorithm. So this is, again, one of those cases. This was a study published in Radiology. It's UCSF, not Google. What's interesting is the deep learning algorithm achieved 82% specificity at 100% sensitivity at predicting patients' final diagnosis by radiologic readers after death. And on average, the algorithm learned 6 years sooner, 75.8 months, more than 6 years prior to the diagnosis. And as you say, this is one of those cases where it's trained, makes its own rules. We don't know what those rules are.
Right.
And it can't
the more data we give it, the better it will be, and the better it will, and of course the problem now is you can't treat Alzheimer's, but at some point there will be. A neighbor of mine, look at better example, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, right? And God bless, get better Ruth. But they caught her lung cancer early because she also fell and they took a scan.
Right. Just chance, by chance.
It's the chance. And there are certain things that if you do, a neighbor of mine has, God bless him, pancreatic cancer, and we thought, okay, well, that's it, because you always hear that's it. But by chance, it was diagnosed early.
Yeah, that's the key. The earlier you find it.
Well, and I think that's true even with Alzheimer's, that there are treatments and things you can do. I mean, you may not be able to stop it, but you can slow it.
Yeah.
I love this story. New Statesman. Stop scaremongering about kids spending time on their phones. We, of course, are constantly worried, surrounded by, as the New Statesman writes, doom-laden warnings about how smartphones have destroyed a generation. But the evidence is very weak. Royal College of Pediatrics and Child Health issued new screen time guidelines saying essentially there's no evidence to support the idea that screen time is directly toxic to health. There is some evidence it can displace other activities like exercise, but the main recommendations now, this is of the UK's Royal College of Pediatrics and Child Health, simply ask yourselves as a family whether your screen time is controlled or whether it gets in the way of doing things you want to do. And if it does, try to control
do something about it. Right, Leo, you and I grew up at the time. Matthew's a little younger, right? I think, Mathew, aren't you?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. But we grew up in a time when the same discussion was made about television.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
My parents would only let me watch 30 minutes a night of TV, and I'll never forgive them for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
30 minutes a night. Why?
We didn't have to be limited because we only got 3 channels and one was French. So
yeah. And the rest was boring.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that night where my parents said we're going out to dinner, and it was the premiere of Adam West's Batman. And
what?
I knew
you were going to miss it.
The next day in 4th grade, that's all anybody would be talking about. All anybody would be talking about, and I was going to miss it. And I had no choice.
It's funny you should mention that. I just saw a clip. I think it was on Facebook, and it was amalgamation of all the wall walking celebrity.
Yes, I saw that recently too.
It was hilarious.
That was the cheesiest show, and I
really
way
enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Oh man, what a great show!
God, it was.
But I mean,
awful.
it reveled in its cheesiness.
It was
like
intentionally cheesy.
Yeah, yeah.
Holy cheesy, Batman.
You must be, because that's Robin. Hi, Robin.
Yes, citizen, but don't be alarmed. We're here on
Yes,
official business.
Holy human flies.
And by the way, it's so obvious they're walking the camera sideways.
The floor,
They're walking.
Who are you?
Must be new in Gotham City.
He's from Philadelphia.
How did you know?
You dipped your diphthong. People from Philadelphia are known for that.
We're Batman and Robin, the crime fighters. Are you a vocal group?
It's Dick Clark.
I beg your pardon?
I thought perhaps you might be a singing duo. You know, the outfits and all that.
No, we're duly deputized officers of the law. You may return to your business, citizen.
It was so cheesy.
Yeah, oh, God, was it?
But I was right. Everybody in 4th grade was talking about it.
And you were left out.
I was left out. There's the Green Hornet.
It was so good.
It was so good. You remember that, so maybe you are of a certain age.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely remember it. There's a Twitter account, and all it does is post images of the goofy things with goofy labels from that Batman show.
Citizen.
So there was always, a secret device, and it had this huge sign on it with some dumb name, and all it does is tweet those images.
If you thought there were too many shows on TV to watch, I wish I were limited to half an hour.
You were right.
You were right. Netflix released over 1,500 hours of original series and movies this year.
It's amazing. The investment is just
1 year.
Gigantic.
1 year. And it's actually, I think it's accelerated this year.
I think so too.
Between Amazon Prime, Netflix.
What show is that?
Hulu. Yeah, I don't know.
Hulu.
I don't
What show
even
is
know
that?
that show.
I don't know. I missed it.
Maniac.
No, the one you have on the
Hill.
screen.
Maniac, huh?
Never
Jonah
heard
Hill
of it.
It's very, very good.
Is that Emma? What's her name?
Emma Stone.
Yeah, Emma
You
Stone.
like her.
See, I love those two people. I didn't even know they were in a
that's
show.
the thing. This happens to me all the time, but it happened to me watching the Golden Globes. So they would mention a show that had been on for multiple seasons.
Yes.
With famous people in it, and be like, I have literally never, not only have I not seen it, I've never heard of it. I don't even know it exists.
By share of total minutes, 66% were series, 11% documentary, 10% movies, 5% kids, 3% anime. I thought they were all stand-up comedy specials, but only 3%.
Yeah. Well, it's the problem with Netflix's personalizations. There's just stuff that I would be interested in. They don't show me.
I never seen Maniac. Yeah. I didn't even know it existed.
Never heard.
Right. Same here.
In fact, Netflix. All right. Let's acknowledge it is the worst software. I know it's a little different on every platform, but all I want to do is go back to the show I was watching last night.
Yeah.
Good luck finding it.
They don't want you to do that.
But
they want you to scroll. The endless scroll.
I don't know. Just just the first thing should be, this is what you were watching last.
Yeah.
That's all.
They're all awful. HBO, I can't. I've gone to the same episode of The Affair 100 times because I can't figure out where I was.
Well, and that's a problem with that show because they're all the same. You can't tell anyway.
Yes. Whiny.
I cannot. I've tried to watch that show. I watched the first season. I couldn't believe they got. How many seasons did they get out of that?
They're about to the fifth and last.
It's like the longest affair in history.
I know. It got better.
This is crazy.
You were mentioning the screen time sort of moral panic.
Yeah.
I actually wrote about that for CJR in passing, but I noted that the doll maker American Girl, its new Girl of the Year doll for 2019, is an aspiring chef who runs a bed and breakfast, but who also needs help, quote, finding balance between the digital world and the real world.
Oh, wow. My daughter was big into American Girl dolls when.
Same here. Yeah. Same here.
Is this the truly me doll?
It's the Girl of the Year. I don't know if they announced it. I guess a week or two ago.
Oh, that's interesting.
She's an aspiring chef.
They all have stories, and they started with historical dolls, which is really.
Yeah, I used to read the books to my daughter.
Yeah,
they were actually pretty good.
Did I tell you this? I took Abby to Chicago to the American Girl doll store.
We've done that too.
And we went to a Chicago Cubs game, and I was sitting, I and my buddy and our two young daughters, he and I were sitting in the bleachers at the Cubs game with their American Girl dolls in our laps. I wish I had a picture of that.
Oh, I wish you'd been on the Jumbotron with that. Yeah.
That'd be on the internet.
That was fun.
There was also, I also mentioned in passing this study, a psychologist pointed out that one of the problems with these screen time studies with most of the research is that it relies on self-reporting.
Yes, and this one did too.
People are notoriously bad at estimating their own usage.
I think honestly, if we think about our experience, I have teenagers at home, I have adult kids, it's clear that is a problem, that there is an issue. And I don't know what the long-term result will be. Like, are they going to... my adult kids kind of missed out. Abby was born in 92, Henry in 94. They kind of missed out. But Michael's 16, and he's completely soaking in it. And maybe that's one of the reasons Tim Sweeney, the founder of the developer of Fortnite, made $7 billion this year.
With a B, yeah. Well, and I read actually an interesting article, I can't remember where, I wish I could, but about how Fortnite is a great game and everything, but it's also a social community.
Exactly, that's its secret.
It's like Second Life. It's a place to go and hang out and do stuff. It's not just a game.
Have you played? I haven't gotten anywhere near it. I mean, you've played. Yes, Leo. You played both.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's absolutely about the social. It's fun. It's absolutely about the social, which is really interesting. We had a game expert. She does consulting for game companies. Has done it for years, and she has a map of the 4 quadrants that every game has to appeal to. One of them is social. There also has to be a reward system and a certain amount of challenge, et cetera. It's actually quite interesting to read, and a lot of companies hire her because she's kind of figured out the psychology of gamifying.
Do you remember her name?
You know what, John? Her chart is on the wall over on the left in the back of my office there. I'll get it for you. She's great. It was a good triangulation. Karsten might remember. He was the one who booked it. But anyway, it's a fascinating subject. Fortnite. And I was talking the other day with a buddy of mine whose kid is a Fortnite addict. He says the greatest thing ever because he uses it as a reward system, and he can get this kid to do anything.
To do anything.
He cleaned the house the other day. This is.
I think that's illegal.
It shouldn't be. But the kid gladly and willingly does it. He says, okay, you could play Fortnite. So this is the 4 keys to fun. Her name is Nicole Lazaro, I think.
Okay.
And her company is XEO Design, XEO Design. And she actually publishes on there. So there's hard fun, easy fun, serious fun, people fun. And the way this is designed, they all feed into one another. So with the people fun, communicate, cooperate, compete. It's got to be there. And it generates the emotions. She calls amici, or friendship, amusement, emero, and admiration. It's really interesting. Very thoughtful. It was a good triangulation. Hard fun.
Because I follow a game researcher named Jane McGonigal.
Oh, Jane McGonigal's great. I love her. Yeah.
She's amazing.
She's talked a lot. I've heard her speak. She's talked a lot about the gamification of everything. In any event, Fortnite is one of those unicorns, one of those once in a decade things that just kind of magically got everything right. It's not an original concept. They kind of stole it from PlayerUnknown's Battleground, PUBG.
7 billion.
But they cartoonized it, which they kind of stole from Overwatch. They added this social element. It was a little bit of Overwatch. They don't charge for the game. The game is free. All the money is made on costumes and dance moves. They're being sued, by the way, by a number of people, including, what is his name, Carlton from Fresh Prince, for stealing the Carlton dance.
Right, yeah. I didn't know the guy who developed it also created the Unreal Engine.
Yeah. Sweeney's basically Epic Games. He found it in his basement, his parents' basement.
Wow, because the Unreal Engine is behind everything.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, in 1991, he's playing games in his parents' basement. You know his mom said, "What are you going to do, play video games for a living?"
For a living? Yeah. I hope he's bought her something nice.
Yeah. A house in the basement.
Wow.
I have breaking news.
It's just in.
Uh-oh.
It's just in. Seth Maskett tweets, "I'm inspired by the bravery of the person who insisted on anonymity when revealing what kind of candy Trump offered Pelosi and Schumer." CNN quote, "The exact candy was not specified, but according to a source familiar, at least 1 Butterfingers was spotted, as well as Baby Ruth bars and M&Ms."
Nice.
This ends the poll.
He brought them the leftover White House Halloween candy bowl.
Yeah.
Were they little
Butterfingers
ones?
are good. I like Butterfingers.
Got to get rid of it somehow.
I'd vote for a wall if you gave me Butterfingers. I'm easy.
I want to know, were they peanut M&Ms or not?
Oh. So we'll end with this list. It wasn't supposed to be published. WikiLeaks sent it to journalists saying specifically, you may not publish this, but blogger Emma Best has released it. This is the complete list of the 140 things it would be false and defamatory to say about Julian Assange. And it is, some of the things, you could kind of, it's false and defamatory to suggest he ever met with or communicated with George Cottrell. And they, to their credit, they give links here. So some of this is exactly what you'd expect, the accusations having to do with Manafort and Cottrell. But you also can't say that he has bad hygiene.
That he stinks.
That he stinks.
That he lives in a cupboard under the stairs.
That's a joke, right? That's a Harry Potter joke, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sure he jokes anymore.
Each sentence begins of the 140 with, "It is false and defamatory to suggest that." Is that some sort of quasi-pseudo-legalism saying, "I'll sue your ass if you say this"?
Yeah.
It is false and defamatory to suggest that Assange is merely a guest of the Ecuadorian embassy. He's a political refugee. Anyway, wow. I don't even.
Yeah, you should skip over the really serious stuff because the really good stuff is further
at the bottom.
Down.
Yeah. There's a lot of it. There's
a lot.
These are all things. It's false to say he was a member of a cult or his mom. It's false to say he bleaches his hair. No, that's it. That's his natural color. It is
or
false.
that his mom was a hippie.
Yeah, you may not suggest that Julian Assange's mother is or ever was a hippie. Or that he is a hacker. Can't say it.
It is false and defamatory to suggest that he ever walked into embassy meeting rooms in his underwear.
Never did that. I have no idea where you got the idea. It's false and defamatory to suggest that Ecuador suggested that Julian Assange did not look after his cat. He has never neglected an animal.
And then there's a whole list of things you can't call him: anarchist, racist, anti-Semite, misogynist, pedophile, rapist, murderer, communist.
The lady does protest too much, methinks.
I would never suggest that he stinks. I would never suggest that he does not use cutlery, that he's ever lived in a basement, cupboard, or under the stairs. I would never would suggest that, Julian. Don't worry. You're safe with me. How do we stand on Julian Assange these days? Do we really know what's going on there? Something's going on. We just don't know what's going on.
The problem for us in journalism is we have to defend speech and publication, but it's really hard to defend.
And yet, I mean, some of the things that he did, I mean, we wouldn't have known about the drone.
Oh, that's exactly
right.
Strikes.
And personally, I defended WikiLeaks in the early days.
I certainly did.
As a journalistic organization. And it just pains me to no end to see what has become of what was once a powerful and arguably positive thing. It just, I don't even...
Is it that he has committed the heresy of supporting Donald Trump? Is that now de facto?
No, it's not as simple as that. It's not supporting.
He's insane.
That he helped manipulate an American election. The Podesta emails and so on. He was an agent. That's the issue.
Do you think he was a witting agent, or do you think he was an unwitting agent?
Oh yeah.
No, I think it was deliberate.
Notice how the two efforts from the left to use fake news manipulation in the Alabama election is receiving condemnation from the left.
Yeah, rightly so.
Yes. So it's not. It's about what he did, not necessarily who he did it for. The fact who he did it for are bonus points, but.
And even before that, I spoke to two former members of WikiLeaks who worked closely with Julian Assange, and they both said that they stepped away from the organization because it became all about Julian, and it was all about his kind of conspiracy theories, and so it stopped being about what they thought it was originally about.
Weren't we worried?
Had three similar conversations, Matthew.
Weren't we worried after he spoke truth to power about the drone strikes and other things that his name was mud, and whatever it took, that the governments in the United States and other countries would get him.
Definitely,
they would get him.
And I think
maybe this is them getting him.
Some of his paranoia is definitely justified. But there are lots of things that he's done to himself that have not been done to him.
So,
and more breaking news.
Uh-oh.
More breaking news. Related to the previous breaking
Baby
news.
Ruth?
Well, kind of. So M&M's has 3 new internationally inspired flavors.
Oh.
Thai coconut peanut. It's in the run. I put it in the comments. English toffee peanut. But here's the real news. Here's the scoop. Here's the big deal. Mexican jalapeno peanut M&M.
That'd be funny if he brought that to the.
What do we think?
Well, as long as it didn't come from Mexico.
I'm going to say no.
No, you think no?
No to jalapeno peanut.
I'm going to pass.
No, you can pass.
I'm more of a traditionalist.
It has finally happened, and then we're going to wrap this up with your picks. It has finally happened. A 51% attack against a cryptocurrency.
Yeah, Ethereum Classic.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not Bitcoin, but it does raise the concern that, some of the bigger, more, I don't know, is Ethereum Classic an important?
Not really.
What does a 51% attack mean?
Well, all I know, I learned from Silicon Valley.
Someone getting majority control of the token.
Oh, I see.
It turns out that this is something that nobody ever really contemplated, but if you could control a sufficient number of blocks in a blockchain, you could take it over.
Yeah.
You could make it yours. And that's what happened with Ethereum Classic. So Coinbase has halted all Ethereum Classic transactions, withdrawals, and deposits. If you had Ethereum Classic, I don't know what that means. Is the money out of your hands? I don't know.
I got the impression people were moving away from Ethereum Classic anyway. Like that's why it's called Classic.
Right.
Like Coke.
Ethereum was one of the big cryptos, right?
It still is.
Yeah.
There's different branches or forks or.
So do you gents still think that there's something left in cryptocurrency, or is it all turned out to be a
I definitely do.
Fad?
I definitely do. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I remember how skeptical people were about the internet, and I remember how skeptical they were about lots of technologies that wound up being pretty transformative. And I think in the early days, you often see the worst sides of something like that. I mean, you remember early websites, even early social networks, they were garbage. And lots of
they're so much better now.
Yeah, so much better now.
Now they're garbage fires. So
you wouldn't know, Leo. You wouldn't know, Leo, because you're not there.
I can smell it from here, Jeff.
Fine now.
But you couldn't argue they haven't affected our life. You couldn't argue that they aren't a big
right.
That they obviously good and bad. It's not that it's going to be.
Well, I agree with you. I think that's the case. But boy, the cooties are winning in cryptocurrencies right now.
Yeah, I mean, part of the problem is also a lot of cryptocurrencies are essentially pyramid schemes, it seems like.
Right.
I think the fundamental technology of blockchain is fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
It is. It is.
It's being theoretically applied to too much, but there are interesting applications.
The notion of a decentralized ledger system is, I think, very powerful. And I don't think that's now part of the world. That's not going to go away. Cryptocurrencies and especially ICOs, okay.
So I think that's where you have to distinguish between blockchain, which is the sort of technology aspect, and cryptocurrency, which is the kind of frothy,
Yeah.
It's like those websites. Do you remember the one where you could buy a tiny ad and the page was just full of like hundreds and hundreds of tiny ads? Yeah. Do you remember that one?
Yeah. The
thing
million points or whatever. Yeah.
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 That guy made a lot of money, by the way.
Yeah. But that's not, the internet or the web or it's just a minor bubble.
It is. It's really, I think it's very interesting. I think as soon as you see people speculating and stuff, then you're going to start to say, well, that's not, there it is.
I mean, domain names were the same.
And that's what is that called? The $1 million homepage.
$1 million
homepage, yeah.
And sold out.
Oh yeah, he made a lot of money. And really, there was nothing there.
Someone would look at that and say, the web's a waste of time.
Yeah.
The Times of London thought it was worth buying something.
Well, that's what's so funny.
What brands are?
What's the name?
MySpace there.
Why not?
It reminds me of my favorite website of all time.
Which was?
lingscars.com.
Yes.
Nice. This is such a good website. If you haven't been, go to lingscars.com. She's apparently, we tried to get her on triangulation. Did we ever talk to her? I feel like we did. I think we did. Long time ago in the brick house.
Lingswings.com?
She is the number one leaser of new and used cars in the UK. And I guess she's going to do something else, planes or something.
Nice. Lease airplanes.
Yeah. This is inspired. This is the ugliest site with animated jiggling and you can trust me. I am Ling. Hope you're enjoying your visit to lingscars.com, the UK's favorite car leasing website. And by the way, please note, made in the People's Republic of China, not me, not the website, which was handcrafted by Ling in the UK, and all incoming connections to lingscars.com are monitored for security and provenance. No scammers. Okay.
Signed Ling.
Signed Ling. I'm pretty sure we interviewed her.
I hope so.
Maybe it wasn't an interview. We just talked to her. She was wearing a yellow emergency jacket or something. It was some crazy.
The tech guy 1534?
No, that was me talking about it, but maybe we never recorded it. We may not have made a show about it. Okay, did we get everything in here? I think that what did I miss? Anything, fellers? Anything? There's a million.
Once you hit Ling, man, you kind of hit the
end of the internet. That's the end.
Where can you go? Where can you go from that?
Our show today, we're going to get your picks if we can come up with more. We've used quite a few of them. Our show today brought to you by, this is a great pick, DigitalOcean, which is a fantastic platform for people who want to do web apps, learn about web apps too, because it's very affordable. Lots of businesses, about 150,000 businesses rely on DigitalOcean for their infrastructure. It used to be in the old days. I remember Kevin Rose, when he started Dig, I remember he was so excited because they got a colo, which meant a network operations center. He bought his server. They brought it to the physical fenced-in cage in the co-location network operations center, installed the software, set up Dig, and that was just one server. And he was so excited. And that's what you had to do in those days. If you had an idea like Kevin did I got an idea for a brilliant website, that's what you had to do. Then, by the time we started Twit, I went to a company in Texas, and I said, I need some servers. They provision them 5 days later. They get back to you. Your server's ready. Now you can set it up. And, this has become friction-free now, and this is transformative, in my opinion. DigitalOcean. It's the easiest cloud platform to deploy, manage, and scale applications. With Droplets, those are virtual machines that are a scalable compute platform. You can add storage, security, monitoring. You know what? The best way for me, this is my DigitalOcean page. Let me create a droplet, show you how easy this is. And so affordable, too. So I'm going to say create a droplet. Now, the first thing that's going to happen is you can choose distributions: Ubuntu, FreeBSD, Fedora, Debian, CentOS. You can also choose containers, which is a great way to do applications. But I'm gonna be really lazy and do the one-click apps. Are you interested in developing on a LAMP stack? Right there. There's a LAMP stack on Ubuntu 18.04. You want to do Python programming? Here's a Django framework, MySQL, Plesk, WordPress, Docker, GitLab. Let's say you want to set up GitLab. All right. Now you choose how much you want to pay, the droplets. And by the way, it goes all the way down to $5 a month or $0.007. So that's what, 0.7 cents an hour. For that, you get a gigabyte of throughput. You get a CPU, 25 gigs of storage. I'm sorry. You get a terabyte of transfer, and I guess there's a gigabyte of RAM. So I'll choose that. And if I need more, it's easy to add more. You want backups? Yeah, let's enable backups. That's $1 a month. I'm going to you choose your data center: New York, San Francisco, Amsterdam, Singapore, London, Frankfurt, Toronto. I'm going to choose San Francisco too. I always do. I use SSH to log in. See, they already have my key, so I don't even have to import that. I could choose other features, and I can name it. Let's call it Leo's Git, and create it. Now, remember when I said, Kevin had to go to a co-location, install the hardware days later? We are right now provisioning an entire GitLab install that I can use with a public IP address. If I want, I can put my stuff on there. I can manage DNS. I can secure my droplets. I can add storage. And this is going to get all set up and provisioned in the time it takes for me to do this ad. That's DigitalOcean. 99.99% uptime, their SLA, cloud firewalls, monitoring and alerting so you always know the status, full DNS management. They've got data centers, as I said, all over the world. These are using enterprise SSDs, a very simple API, and there you go, Leo's Git. It's at 206.189.71.46. It's ready to go. I can log into it right now on the console and play with it. This is incredible. Over 150,000 businesses, including some of the world's fastest growing startups, rely on DigitalOcean. See, it's booting up. There's my login. I'm running Ubuntu 18.04. Git's already installed. That is so awesome. do.co/twit. This, you can see my usage fee in the right is 0 because I don't have any droplets. It's easy to destroy them. I'll let this one run. It's not going to cost me more than $5 a month. And we're going to make it even more affordable because you're going to get a free $100 credit when you go to do.co/twit. That could be a whole year. This is great for students if you want to learn a language And, if you're using a Chromebook like Jeff or a tablet, you can log in. You can use Blink on an iPad, access your DigitalOcean account, and do programming. Run a WordPress blog. Do anything you want. Emacs, baby. Emacs. It's so great. I love it. Empowering the modern world of MVPs, startups, your next unicorn at do.co/twit for a free $100 credit. Would have been so much easier for Kevin to start digging. And that's what I love about this. This is modern. They have Kubernetes now, by the way, if you are interested in containers. Docker, of course. It's just super. do.co/twit for a $100 credit at DigitalOcean. I am legitimately excited about Do because this is the kind of transformative technology that means anybody, some kid in Mumbai in high school, could create the next big thing.
Yep.
So great. Jeff, give us a number.
I have a number. So I found this interesting because malls are dying. Sears is dying.
Oh, man.
Big box stuff is dying.
There's a mall in Santa Rosa up here that used to be huge, Cottingtown Mall. It's where everybody went. We went there the other day. Oh, my God, it was depressing.
Ghost town.
Nothing there.
Nothing there. And the things that are there are fake stores. Like with Comic Sans signs.
Right.
They're made up kind of like they bought up. It's like going to an eBay store. It's incredible. So sad.
So one mall, however, has found another life.
As what?
A 500,000 square foot mall plus in West LA is now going to be Google's LA campus.
Oh, there you go.
So I think it's a good use of a mall. If we can just put big old tech companies in big old malls, we'll be fine.
It's not the first company to do this.
That reminds me of the San Francisco Chronicle started renting out space to startups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty soon the whole building was startups.
That's pretty funny. Rackspace is in a mall in San Antonio.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I was thinking there's been college campuses, like community colleges.
Such a great idea.
Another is kind of an old folks home. So the mall becomes the hill. They're walking the mall anyway. Now it's downtown.
I know, Matthew, we probably used your pick.
We did, yeah. I was just going to say, if you want to, I still think people should go take a look. If they're interested in the Internet Archive,
yes,
you can go to archiveteam.org,
yes,
and you can install what they call the Archive Team Warrior. And it's a virtual machine. You can get a VMware, you can get a virtual box. Takes no time at all. It took me like 10 minutes. And you're ready to go, and you can help basically archive the Internet.
I have a couple of different things I can talk about. It is the Super Blood Wolf Moon eclipse coming Sunday, January 20th.
You know those are all made up, right?
Yeah, I know. It's in USA Today, dude. This is science. It is a wolf moon because of the time of year, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is a blood eclipse because it's the moon is passing into the shadow of the Earth. It is super because we are close to the moon, so it's big, not that much bigger. And did I get all of them? Super blood wolf moon eclipse.
The supermoon, I actually looked it up because I was trying to figure out what it was. And that term was invented by an astrologer, not an astronomer.
It's like 1 degree larger or something. It's very tiny. Yeah. It feels good. There will be 3 supermoons this year, just in case. February 19th, March 21st, as well as January 20th.
If you like the blood moon idea, I think Native Americans have, it's like 8 or 9 different moons.
Oh. Yeah. Native Americans called the January full moon the wolf moon because it appeared when wolves howled in hunger outside the villages.
Yeah. There's a blue corn moon. There's a bunch of them.
Okay. Not happy about that. How about this? Every year, Bruce Sterling, the science fiction writer who I love, does his State of the World address at South by. This year, he's doing it online, State of the World, or SOTW as it's known, 2019, on The Well.
Nice.
The Well. And that's why it's in Courier. He says he's a great writer. The Chinese Year of the Pig 2019. Here we are. We do this State of the World every year out of sheer glee. It's a mental hygiene for us, a comic relief, like taking a cleansing squeegee to our grimy apartment windows, which is something I actually did here just yesterday, and I can tell you my view's a lot crisper now. The end of 2018, well, he says, was an apotheosis of my live-out-of-a-bag 21st century digital nomad lifestyle. He ended up in Ibiza, but he noticed that the same mood was everywhere, spread worldwide. He calls it the new dark. It's gray, it's becalmed. It's not a fatal gloom, but it is a kind of learned helplessness, a malaise and bewilderment. It's very much the attitude of people who sign on to Facebook because they can't yet figure out any other way to live. They do that because they must conform to the apparent need, despite their vague, ox-like awareness that they're being spied on, tricked, and defrauded. This is the resigned malaise that fits the post-Snowden internet and tech industry's consolidation. It's the funereal aftermath of Moore's Law. It resembles a fat, sweaty guy on the couch snacking on poisoned cookies. That's how it is. State of the world. It's a little gloomy this year.
Do you know he lives in Turin? Did you know that?
He lives all over. He says he's been in Ibiza most of the year. Turin, Italy.
Yeah. I didn't know that until I went to
takes him around.
Yeah, probably. He's got money, right? He's rewrote.
I assume.
Yeah. And get ready. I'm immediately going to move to the University of Pacific in California because Pepsi is rolling out a fleet of robots to bring students snacks. The snack bot will carry Smart Food Delight popcorn, baked Lay's potato chips, Pure Leaf tea, and Starbucks cold brewed drinks. Students will place their order on the iOS app and have them delivered to select locations around the 175-acre campus. How about that? Do you want a snack?
How soon before they get hacked?
Oh, yeah, instantly. People hate these. People are vandalizing the Waymos. For crying out loud, the Teslas are killing the robots. It's crazy out there.
It's war out there.
It's crazy.
Begun the robot wars have.
Begun the robot wars have. Are you speaking in Yoda? Begun the robot wars have.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Nice. Oh, and I love this. AT&T is putting 5G star on your phone, even though it's just 4G.
Small print, not actually 5G.
That's fraud. It's just downright fraud.
I bet they backed down now that T-Mobile's mocking them. This AT&T now has 5G in over 400 markets.
My AT&T phone doesn't say that.
5G with a little sideways E. It's sideways, it's slanted because it's moving fast. The E stands for evolution, and really it's just LTE.
Our big telecom company, Rogers, offers an unlimited account with an asterisk. And they actually went to court to argue that they can use the term unlimited for an account that is limited.
Because, well, it's not unlimited.
Yeah, it's unlimited in lots of theoretical ways.
You get as many bits as you could ever want. It's just that they get slower and slower and slower. Archiveteam.org. I'm going to sign up for that when I get home, and I'm going to be home in a minute because we have wrapped up This Week in Google. Thank you, Mathew Ingram from the Columbia Journalism Review, CJR.org. He's chief digital writer. On the Twitter, MATHEWI, 1T. And anything else you want to plug?
Nope. That's it.
Good man. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Are you snowed in?
No, actually, we have no snow at all.
Oh. Well, what's the point of living in Canada if you don't have snow in the winter? That's what I ask you.
It does feel a little odd, I have to say.
Go for the poutine, stay for the snow. Mr. Jeff Jarvis, professor of journalism. Well, I have the whole thing here. I can read it to you. The Leonard Tao Professor for Journalistic Innovation at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York. He's at buzzmachine.com. The author of Public Parts, What Would Google Do? Gutenberg the Geek. etc., etc., etc.
Thank you.
What's
Always a pleasure, sir.
What's the new one you're working on?
I don't know yet. I'm playing around with Gutenbergian things.
Okay. So
I feel like Jeff and I are at opposite ends of the spectrum. Like my ID is cjr.org. It's 5 letters.
Yeah.
And then Jeff's is
well, show the lower third.
14 sentences long.
It's really the lower half when we put his title up there. You guys are awesome. I look forward to seeing you both again. We do This Week in Google on Wednesdays, 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 Eastern, 21:30 UTC. You can watch us live, twit.tv/live. We've got audio and video, and your choice. If you do that, join us in the chat room, irc.twit.tv. Don't forget, though, on-demand audio and video is always available for everything we do on the network, and you can get that at our website, twit.tv. In this case, twit.tv/twig, twit.tv/twig. And, you do us all a solid, as the kids say, if you would subscribe. That way you'll get it automatically the minute it's available every Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening. Just fire up your favorite podcast application and search for This Week in Google. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time on Twig. Bye-bye.